All right. What's going on? Whoop. Audio is on. What's going on, everyone? Let me make sure we're good here. Doesn't look like that is actually clear at all. That's what happens when you put these things in front of the camera. Has a tendency to do that. That should be a little bit better. Let's see. Oh, it looks a little better. A little clearer. Renee, what's going on? High Grade Gaming. What's going on there? Good to see you in there. Randall, afternoon. Richard Frost. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger now because I know this is going to be a problem later. John Beck's in there. Heath B. Libby's in there. Good evening to you. Sandra's in there as well. Oh, yeah. Brett's in there. Butterfield. Hi, Chris and all. Hope you're all doing well. I am doing good. Thank you very much, Brett. Hope you're doing well as well. Robert Wallace. I love those Mars and Moon video, Chris. I appreciate it, Robert. Artur Sadovi. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right, so forgive me. Salute from Bordeaux. Good to see you in there. Let's see. Photography, Light, and Magic. Big hugs. Big let's go Scotland. Scotland in the house. Oh, yeah. Let me make sure audio's good here. Oh, yeah. I confirmed it. Oh, yeah. Richard, hi, Chris. Hope your weekend has been well. Well, it's actually been good, rather. Yeah, I actually got up early this morning, knocked out another video for you guys, which is actually on the other computer right now in the editor. That should be up, I'm going to say tomorrow. I was going to say this evening, but I got to edit it, so I'm not going to stay too long in here tonight, but usual couple hours, I guess. But we have that in the editor when he knocked it out, so you guys will have that for tomorrow, just afternoon, probably just after 1. So that'll be up there too. And guys, this is going to be crazy because you know me, I don't really see humanoids, any kind of creatures of that sort. But one thing stuck out in this gigapan that I looked at, and I was just like, there's no way of not seeing it. It was just there. So I think you guys will find that interesting. And I also found something else in another pan that I'm definitely going to be sharing with you guys, some good stuff. And that's 2 Mars photos back to back. And then I'm going to have another moon, a couple actually moon videos. So I think you guys will be loving that. Phil Cox with daughters Jessica and Kelsey Brown. Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. What's going on there, Phil? Good to see you in there. Maurice Boomer. Hello, that side. Well, hello to that side. Paul McKenzie's in there. Frack's in there. What's going on, Frack? Mort Piat is in there. Let's see. This thing somehow jumped up on me, but there we go. We're good now. Mars Anomalies and Beyond, extraterrestrial alienologist, UFOologist. Chris is in the house. Pump it up. Josh, Joseph, DeLester. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Somehow I can never pronounce your name. I feel like I'm butchering the hell out of it. And I don't mean to, I promise. Val's in there. Hey, Chris and everyone. Hugs. What's going on, Val? David Van Remortal. I thought there was something wrong on this end. Looks good. Yeah, well, what happens is because it's an autofocus camera, and if I put something in front of it, it tries to adjust to it. So the second you take it away from it, it looks kind of blurry. So no, it wasn't definitely on your end. I'm sure your stuff's running good. Alien Hunter, what's going on? Good to see you in there, man. By the way, keep knocking them videos out. You're doing a great job on that stuff. Good quality stuff, too, I might add. Richard. Good to see you in there, brother. Larry Lobo, what's going on? Good to see you in there. I agree, Paul. He said this is always fun. David Van Remortal. Well, we'll just say David Van. Thoughts if there's an unknown station in orbit that the public does not know about. They always talk about the Black Knight, which is supposed to be there for X amount of thousands of years ago, and that's the only one I can think of, other than maybe top secret military, stations and stuff like that, or just satellites, things like that, right? But you don't really hear about too many other things that are kind of crazy out there, right? Renee Van Oosterhout, what's going on? Oh, thanks, Mark. You put on your last two videos were great. So much to see. Keep in mind, there's actually a third video. I put out three for you guys. Like I said, if you guys haven't subbed to the new channel, Lunar Anomalies and Beyond, because once that hits 1,000, we're going to start putting a lot more moon in there, and it's going to be all moon on there. So if you haven't already, subbed to that channel, yeah, you might want to, especially if you're into a lot of the moon, which like I am. I love to see anything that's on the moon. So yeah, definitely sub to that. And because like I said, once it gets, we're up to, you guys have been awesome. I mean, I think we're up to like, I don't know if it's like 830, 850. I forget what it was as far as subs up there. So we're getting close, darn close. So, just keep, if you guys, like I said, if you haven't, jump on over there and check it out. Because like I said, we will move everything over there, as far as moon photos or videos rather. So if you guys, not subbed, you won't see them, but I did knock out three of them this time for you guys. Mark Watkinson, hi from London, Chris. What's going on? Big wave over to you and the family from over the big pond. Peters Marcus, thanks for the awesome disclosures. Well, like I said, I find them, give them to you guys, and we all analyze them, not just me, which is really good. Everybody's in on it now. Pat W. What's going on, Pat? Hi, everyone, you say? Cyborg 10, hello, Chris. These hangouts are a great way to start my day before I go into work. Thanks. Well, it's like, it's the end of my day because depending on where you're at, it's my evening. And like I said, I try to make it a little earlier so everybody can get on board with this because I know a lot of you guys are like, hey, man, I'm over the big pond, and some of you guys are like next day, and meaning New Zealand, things like that, Australia, things like that. So it's kind of, you guys are like, man, I wish you could make this earlier. So we did. Yes, Libby, you said great. New videos come. Absolutely. Like I said, I've got two short ones coming from Mars, and I've got, like I said, I still got a good 3 or 4 of them coming. They're on deck for the moon as well. And like I said, I'm going to put those, I'm going to have 1 or 2 of those on the regular Mars Anomalies channel, and then I'm going to put the other one on there until we hit the 1,000. And that's, like I said, that's when basically YouTube recognizes it as a channel, right? Unfortunately, but that's the way it is. The Jimmy Chronicles. Hey, Chris. Jimmy here from Sweden. Love your work. I must say that the moon of ours gets my head spinning. I mean, what the hell is it? It's so frustrating knowing it's something wrong with reality. Well, when you say reality, I mean, it's kind of like what we've been taught. You know what I mean? It's like, and don't get me wrong, the moon is still fascinating to see. I don't care if there's nothing on it. Being it's the closest celestial body to us, it's still interesting. And that's why everybody loves anything to do with the moon, whether it's just simple, just looking at it, not even looking for anything. It's just awesome to see it. And when you start looking at these things, really studying them, especially the ones that they've already supplied for us, like the LROC, which is Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, as well as the Apollo missions, things like that. When you get to see that, they're a lot closer than, anything we can see from, like with a very large telescope, whatever it may be. They're a whole lot closer to the lunar surface than we'll ever be. So it's kind of nice to see that. And that's where you really tear them photos apart. Marcus, it's not disclosure, it's disclosure. Blue Utopia. Hey, Mikael is back here. What's going on there, Blue Utopia? Good to see you in there. I jump all the way down here. John Devon, what's going on? 2 p.m. Here in Los Angeles. Yeah, you lucky SOB. Wish I could turn back the time right now, but get the daylight back. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Oh, okay. Cyborg, I didn't realize you were in Long Island. Okay, cool. 1700 is right. 1711. Michael Stark. Hey, Chris. Happy Sunday, everyone. Well, what's going on? It's good to see you in there, Michael. Lancaster, you said on there, are there many new photos being released by NASA? Well, there are. I mean, the different missions, whether it be just simple, satellites, things like that. They have been talking about. Let me see. Got some. They're talking about like Space News report calls for changes in planetary protection policies, which they're trying to get tighter on, so anything microorganisms don't make it to Mars, and we don't get something and bring it here, so on and so forth. So, um, but we still get this other thing that keeps circulating when they talk about it. It says the guy says, "I'm convinced we found evidence of life on Mars in the 1970s," and I got a small tidbit I'm going to read from that because you don't usually see this in this article and in what they were describing and how they came to the conclusion that there was life. They found life back in 1970, right? So we'll get to that soon. It's pretty cool. Yes, Mark. Yep. Watkinson, you said, Chris, in ancient text, there was a time before the moon, so it was brought here. Well, that's what they say. I mean, now, again, there's no way to know that, but I mean, there's several actual ancient civilization that said that the moon was actually brought here. There was a time before the moon. So it's pretty interesting. Can you imagine that? You're just like, going about your business, all you look up and you see this big orb in the sky, and it's just, what the hell is that? So that must have been something to see if that was the case, right? If it is in fact true. Libby, you said most recent Jean Ward showed a U.S. Air Force secret air vehicle. Yeah, I mean, there was that one, the Tic Tac and everything else. Well, a friend of mine, she had told me about it, and what it is that they were talking about how that could have been a patented Air Force craft. And I'll probably do a video on that too because it's pretty interesting, and how there's actually you can find the patents to it. They sent me over the actual patents, and it talks about different drives and the way this thing is like it's got a hull and then an inner hull, and it's only got so much space, and it's electromagnetic, so on and so forth. Pretty crazy stuff. So I might even do a video on that. Pretty interesting stuff, like I said. And it might very well be, Brett. You said, which begs the question, Libby, is the TR3B a reality? And could very well be. Could very well be. Renee, you said, really, your last videos from the past days are really stunning. Shame, NASA. There's more than a few stones there on the moon. Keep doing the good work, Chris. Well, yeah, I agree with you, Renee. I mean, the more you look at these things, and it's the darker areas too, you got to look at. In fact, one of you guys just replied to that and said, you got to get your eyes to adjust to the darker areas too. And you're absolutely correct. I was trying to bring up more of the lighter objects, but in the future, I'm going to try to bring out a lot more of the darker areas so we can, even if we don't see anything of white, meaning the object is white, we'll still bring out the whole area where you can see everything. And you can literally see these things just like all next to each, like in a squared area, and like roads running to them. Crazy, crazy stuff here, guys. And to see that stuff is like, you're still scratching your head. Like your mind can't understand it because you were never told this. So it's out of the norm. It's hard for you to grasp. It was that way for me too when I first saw this. I said, there's no way this stuff could be there. There's just no way. The more you look at it and get your eyes to settle into it, the more you see this stuff. And it's like, you just can't unsee it. Because the second you go to the photo, it's like, boom, you already know what to look for. Your eyes automatically adjust. John Devon. Well, I appreciate that. You said my charges are playing, but I am busy hanging with Chris and the gang. Well, appreciate that, John. I know you probably have that TV off there on the side, though, just kind of like looking at the same time. I don't blame you, especially if it's a good game, right? Oh, let's see. I hate it when this does this. Thing just jumped up. Pete's Vlogs, you said, what's up, player? What's going on there, big dog? Good to see you in there. Okay, there it is. I can get back to where we were. Richard Frost, you said, why are they worried about microbes if these other planets can't support life? They're all charlatans, as we know different. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, and here's the thing: were they thinking about that back in 1970? They probably were. I'm sure of it. But were they successful? Because at some point, I mean, heck, they even see some kind of microbes and all kinds of weird shit on the ISS, and that's out in space for crying out loud. So it's not impossible for these microbes, whether micro or macro, can like hitch a ride on these things into space. Again, panspermia theory, right? Something was on a rock. Once it hit Mars, it was ejected, was in space, came to Earth, started life here? Question mark. Very good possibility. Just one theory, right? But like I said, were they that successful in trying to keep everything from hitching a ride from our planet to there? Something tells me that you can't be that darn perfect. You can put it in a clean room. You can have the people working on it in a clean room. I get that. I've worked in a place like that. It was for like other sanitized equipment, though, building these other machines. And so it makes sense. But once this thing's out, you get it on the launch pad, you get it in the craft. I mean, can you really keep all that stuff out of there? I don't know about all that. You could be swapping things back and forth because once they get things to come from the moon here, in other words, pick up samples, come back, and like they did in Apollo, right? How do we know something wasn't brought back here? You know, did you sanitize your craft once you were there? I mean, of course, they put them in a sanitary, like this, what the heck was that? It was like what do they call that? The old Silver Stream trailers, like RV type things. They actually had those set up and they were, basically made out to be like these quarantine vehicles. So, but what about the capsule coming down? Did they think of that too? Who knows, right? Oh, okay, Libby, I got you. No, this John Ward was from the Suspect Channel, Suspect Sky. I'm sorry. And the last part of the video, it showed a vehicle hovering, landing, and then you can clearly see Air Force. I think I know which one you're talking about. There was a friend of mine had this on a while back, where you could see the buildings. They look like they were hangars from the Air Force, and you can see this thing coming up between the buildings and then hovering around and then coming back down. That's been in circulation for quite a while, which is still a great video, regardless. Pretty good stuff. So, yeah. If it's one I think it is, that's got to be the one. And it does actually say Air Force on it. It had the logo, like you're saying. Alien Hunter, you said, hi, Chris. Great new Lunar channel. Love the in-depth enhancements and analysis of the image. Sure to fly. Is it okay to put up links to images on here? Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. Are you talking about me putting them on there or yourself? I mean, we can do either way. It doesn't matter to me, right? Susan Ann, good morning, all. Well, good morning to you. Good to see you in there. MC Gamer, say, hey, Chris, how is it going, mate? And big shout out to the community. Well, good to see you in there, MC Gamer. I'm sure everybody in there seems to be doing fine so far. Hello again from little old England. Clive Bromley says. Kayak Bassman. Hello, Chris. What's going on there? Good to see you in there. Billy Parky said, personal question, Chris. How do you relax and get some calm thinking time from what must be a 24/7 job? It can be tough at times. Like I said, I actually went in today because my wife she had a death in the family on her side. And this is during the week. And this is the reason why I told you guys on Monday or Tuesday, I have a video for you guys and I didn't. But, like I said, things get in the way, job working and that happened. So I worked today because, she'll lose time at her job a little bit, but not too bad. And, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, on a normal basis, go to work, get these things done. It takes a lot. This is the reason why I'm not knocking these things out like some channels do. You know what I mean? They're literally knocking these things out left and right. Some of them don't even work. That's all they do, which is fine with me. I don't have a problem with it. But they have the extra time, right? So it's a little easy for them to do it. But yeah, I get it done. One way or the other, we'll get it done. I like looking at these things anyway. So it's kind of like if I was sitting home, first thing I'd do is be like, I got to see what's out there. I got to check a photo out. That's just the way I am. I like to see this stuff. High grade gaming. Chris, do you believe in UFOs? Yes. I also believe that our military has its own. And I think a lot of these things we're now seeing, even back in the 60s and 70s, might have been our own craft. When you see some of these things, well, look at the planes and some of the jets and stuff like that. Even the Russian MiGs and all of these other different crafts. I mean, they were, what the heck was that other craft that would actually hit like Mach 3? They were hitting all kinds of marks back in the day. You're talking 40s and 50s. So you can imagine the technology they got today, right? And if you were trying to think of a way, which they did, the stealth bomber, they had the stealth bomber, they had all kinds of crazy things to try to, hide from the radar. If they had it back then, they're thinking, okay, we can make it fast, but can we make it invisible? Sure, why not? And they've done it. But I definitely do believe in them. Seen them myself back in the 80s. You put on there, John Devon, you put on there. So a lot of structures that cast shadows showing shapes that are not rocks. I'm sure the colonies on the moon travel underground from site to site. And you know what? They're very, you're not the first one to say that because I'm sure there's lava tubes, which they claim there is on the moon. And they may be actually flying in and out of there, just going to different areas of the moon. I mean, who the hell would know? Coming out of a crater and going back into another one because maybe the tubes don't continue all over the moon. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Photography and Light and Magic, you said, I have been downloading Curiosity images. And discovered loads of water trickle marks in the sand and tons of the images. These trickle marks all head down to the base of the mountain top. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of it. It's not just a little bit, right? Blue Utopia, thank you very much for your support. Hey, from all of the work you've done on the moon for years, what do you think about the Linda Moulton Howe and her theory of artificial moon? She's not the only one to ever talk about it. I like her. She's a good researcher. She's not the only one to ever say that. And I think NASA knew this a long time ago. Like I said, when you take the third stage of a rocket and slam it into the moon purposely because you've brought seismometers up there to begin with the Apollo missions, there's a reason why they did that. Think about that a minute. You're going to bring up a seismometer for what reason? Well, they want to see if there's any moonquakes. Okay, I get that. Makes sense. But, then why slam a rocket into it? It's kind of like you're just waiting for a reaction, maybe. And they got it. Thing rang for hours. So, and they've done this on more than one occasion. So, what were they trying to achieve? Did they think that it was fake and hollow? When you find metals on there, like all different kinds of steels and metals, you got, like I said, titanium, all kinds of crap like that. When you find that on there, they're probably scratching their head going, man, maybe this thing is, maybe this thing's artificial. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we just toss a rocket or slam it right into the moon, see what happens? Well, there they go. Got their answer. Josh D. Lester, you put on there not only microbes, but also algae on outside of the ISS. Sea algae is crazy. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. They're finding these life forms on the outside of the ISS. And I'm like, how is this possible? There's no oxygen. It's void. It's cold, whatever it may be. Well, depending on which side of the ISS it's on, right? Because if it's on one side, because this thing will always rotate, right? Just kind of like they did in the Apollo missions where they had the capsule. And of course, it was turning purposely. It's almost like a rotisserie, right? They didn't want to keep it just flying straight like this here because one side would heat up too badly. So what they do is they rotate it. And they purposely did that. So pretty crazy how they did. So they had their thinking caps on. They knew exactly what they were going to run into going to the moon and back. So they had everything figured out. They pretty much knew. Just hearing they haven't been doing well. Talking about like the, what are you talking about there, John Devon? I think I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the algae and stuff like that? Or are you talking about something else? Renee, you put on there Venus worms crawling on the hot soil. It wouldn't surprise me, some of these things. I mean, we automatically assume that, wait a minute, we have life forms here on Earth. There's no way it could live on Venus. There's no way it can live on a planet that has more, maybe carbon dioxide or whatever it may be. How do we know that? Just because we can't doesn't mean another life form could not have adapted. We say, well, it's poison to us. Okay, that's true. That doesn't mean that something else couldn't live in that stuff. How do we know? John Devine, I know what you meant. I know what you meant as far as Rick's. Yeah, I have that all the time on my phone. Spell check. It's like, oh, that's not what I meant. Oh, now, yeah, you're right. Well, that's what I was saying. They were all aluminum stuff like that. They used to. What the heck did they used to call it? Besides, I mean, it was an Airstream, which you're correct. They used to call it the silver bullet and stuff like that because it kind of looked like that, right? Mary Montgomery, my question is: if the moon is artificial, sounding like a bell, and so how are they to mine it? Well, that's a great question. It makes you wonder. I wonder how far they can go into that soil. First question is there an actual housing? Okay, like a steel skin around the moon, which would indicate that yes, one, it's made of a metal because it banged the way it did, and of course you can have rocks do that too, right? Have that kind of bell sound. But you have that first, and then the fact that it vibrated and rang like a bell for hours on end. So, but how deep is it? Is there certain parts that are deeper? And what are they actually mining for if they're mining? Or are they mining at all? How do we know? Maybe there's something on the moon that they needed, like we got helium-3, things like that, maybe other metals. It's hard to tell, right? I don't know. And maybe some of the areas are in fact deeper. But what I always said is, like I said, look at these craters. I don't care if they're a mile wide or a foot wide. They're all like the same depth. Not all of them, but they're pretty close. And you know what I mean, as far as depth wise, how is that possible? Doesn't make any sense. It's almost like just picture a smooth sphere, and then they just put like these crater-looking things all over it to make it look like it's an actual moon. In other words, just picture like having a ball and then putting your own stuff on the edge of it, on the outside of it, and make it look like the moon we see today. How do we know? I'm not saying that's the case. It's just pure speculation. But how do we know that it isn't true? Doc Holiday 0731. Hi, Chris. Love this channel. Thank you. Well, thank you for being here. I do appreciate that too. Robert Morgan, you said, did you get my tweet from yesterday? I haven't been up there. I will check it out. Thanks for telling me that because I did not know that. And I haven't been on there in a while. In fact, I had to check my email yesterday and I had like 173 because I haven't checked it in like 2 or 3 weeks. Because like you guys, like I just explained to you, I get up, I do my thing, I go to the job, hustle and bustle, come back here, make some videos. And a lot of times I don't have a chance. It's not that I don't have a chance. It's just I don't think of it because I'm, kind of doing these, right? So a lot of times it totally skips my mind. I don't even check it. I try to go to the Facebook and check that a little bit more often. And you guys have been great. You've been sending me stuff and, whether it's just information that you had gathered or something you want me to check out. So you guys have been really instrumental in that. So I appreciate you guys doing that too. Michael Stark, is the Clementine 1.5 browser still available anywhere? The map version has lots of anomalies blocked out, whereas 2.1 completely removed. Yeah, exactly. I mean, truthfully, I don't know. I haven't checked into it myself. I'd like to because, like you said, because the new version, forget about it. Everything's got to be reworked, and you're not even going to see any of that. Like I said, and somebody had just told me too. They said that I think it was it you, Leatherneck? I don't know if you're on here yet. But had said, Chris, you need to go back and get every darn moon photo that you can because they're literally reworking them. They're getting really washed out now, and they're completely changing them out. And I said, it's no wonder. And I've been saying this, guys. I said, think about it. Back in the 60s and 70s, nobody had a computer, at least not publicly. And if they weren't like you got today, right? Where people are scrutinizing these things. You got software to pull them apart, the whole nine. And now they're going, wait a minute, hold on. We need to do something with this. Let's go back over them again and do what we got to do, right? All right. Again, thank you very much there, Blue Utopia. I sent you photos and vids from the Japanese satellite about a year ago on Facebook, filming, which seems like older, actually dry river on the moon. If you remember ever worked on it, rather. What do you think of it? I'm trying to remember. That goes back a long time, man. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if you still have it, but if you want to still throw it up, you can. And like I said, I've been checking that a lot more frequently. So if you do, if you don't mind, if you can go ahead and throw it up there, I'll check it out again. Rocky Twain, you are correct. Life will find a way. Absolutely. John Devon, that you said they slammed so many things on the moon. Yes, when they had like NASA and Ames, that institute type thing, and like I said before, they had these two people. They had like, let's say there's a bench here or some kind of desk, and they had the guy with his arm on a piece of paper. It showed like a structure, and it showed the lunar surface, and it showed like a structure. And that's the time when they were using both of those crafts, one to actually with the warhead, and the other one to sniff the atmosphere. And funny enough, this well, not atmosphere per se, you guys know what I'm saying, but all the debris that had come off once that bomb exploded on the moon, right? And funny enough, just coincidentally, there was that what looked like structures on that photo underneath this guy's arm. So yeah, coincidence? I don't think so. Um, yeah, you said we found life forms on Earth living in places though impossible before. Oh, we probably meant to put thought impossible before, but either way, LOL will be the same in space, and that's true. I mean, you got all of these weird crustaceans, these weird, ocean fish and all this. They, like I said, they swim around these volcanic, vents coming out of the bottom of the oceans, and the temperature is ungodly over there, and yet these things are right there. They swim right next to it. God only knows what's spewing out of that, right? And they still live there, still do it. Patron, hi Chris, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Divine Caitlin, what's going on? Good to see you in there. Hello everyone. Hello Chris. Hey Kenneth Lair, what's going on? Appreciate the support there, brother. Chris, in your opinion, what specific items would the mainstream media need to see to make them start covering this subject? Oh, just jumped up on me. The subject of a civilization on Mars. Well, I mean, there's a couple of us getting together to try to do this. In fact, it's Jimmy Roberts trying to get this together. What he's doing is he's trying to make it so people can see this more visibly. And he's got a project that he's working on. He's asked me to help him out as far as they want to try to figure out the size differential on these things and get some kind of scale, because a lot of these photos do not show that at all. And that's the problem. I know some of you guys have asked me how, it would help if we knew how big these things were. Well, back in the day, hell, go back 5-6 years ago, NASA used to put a bunch of scaling on these things. Now, nothing. So how do we know? Like that object that we just did, and I've said it was like is it possibly like Martian toys or whatever? How big are these things? My guesstimate was like anywhere between, I said 5 to 6 inches. Only because, like I said, I pull back, you can see the actual, the turret arm from the Curiosity. And some people, and you guys may be spot on, they said, well, how do we know that that area that you showed wasn't much larger? They just made it more far off to make it look like it's smaller. And then, of course, they superimposed the Curiosity rover in the photo. That's a very good possibility. Why wouldn't they just add it to that bag of tricks as well, right? So, but things like that, Kenneth, I think that, show them stuff like that. I think it was funny because we had a couple of these trolls come through and they're like, oh, this guy's delusional. What is rocks? I'm going, rocks. So if I took this watch off and I stuck it right in the photo, and I mean, it's crystal clear as day, they'd say, oh, you added that. You know what I mean? There'd always be something negative coming out of these people because they don't bother to watch. They just kind of skip through the video and then they go, oh, yeah. And there was one guy was saying they're all shadows. I didn't see any shadows in that Don photo. And if there was, it was so minimal that you couldn't even see it. So I think it's comical. You got these trolls come through and they do that. And like I said, I got a kick out of them. But I think, Kenneth, be honest with you, anything we can find. In fact, like I said, I've got a video coming out of Mars. In fact, I got it in the editor on the other computer. And like I said, I never see anything to do with these weird animals, people, but this thing stuck out completely. And I was like, what is that? And I couldn't help it, but I had asked my son to come in. I said, what do you think that is? He's looking at it kind of weird. And he had to smile on his face. He goes, I don't know what the heck that is. I said, look at it carefully. It's not straight up and down. It's kind of tilted. And he looked again and I told him, he said, oh my God. Oh my God. I'll be damned if that isn't what you say it is. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, by the way. And then there's something else I found that looked like it was something mechanical, but, and it could be stone, But you guys will see that as well. Got those two coming up. I think if we got together, Kenneth, and like in other words, a bunch of us researchers and stuff like that got together, found the best things we could find, and absolutely, when I say absolutely, I'm saying 90% convincing, because it's hard to be 100%, right? It's hard to be completely, vet all of this. But put it together and say, does this really look like a rock to you and stones to you? I think if we could get this stuff to a lot of geologists and stuff like that, say, does this look like a rock to you? They'll start questioning, and maybe they'll stop pressuring them, because NASA is going to blow you off. You know that. They're going to be, it's your pareidolia. You're just seeing things. Yeah, all right, whatever. But that's going to be their answer for everything, right? Alien Tenno, you said, question is, why has a false moon been put there to observe us? Well, how do we know that these people that were on this moon, we weren't part of their experiment? And we're just basically like a giant ant farm, right? We'll just see how we can just see how they evolve and stuff like that. Just stuff like that. Let's just see how they grow, and see what kind of mistakes they make. Like I said, you can get an ant farm and do this all day long. How do we know it wasn't something similar to that? We don't know. I think that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Why not? Andrew Haberman, you said life can figure out how to survive in just about any environment given enough time. And yeah, you're right. It'll adapt and it'll grow to adapt. It's like, you see these people like on these higher elevations here on Earth, and I'm talking about they're in very high, mountains. I mean, super thin air, and they're out there gardening. The elders that are there, average over 100 years old, still gardening every freaking day. They're not eating at McDonald's. They're not eating trash. They're eating right off the earth. Just simple, natural, or it's 100% organic, no pesticides, none of that junk. And they're living to over 100 years old and still getting out there and just gardening. I mean, and not to mention they're social and stuff like that, which helps. They say the more social you are, the more longevity you get out of life. So, I mean, yeah. But if they were to come down here, would it be really heavy on their lungs, just like it would be really hard for you to breathe if you were up on that high elevation, right? So, yeah, life can find a way. I don't care if it's in different oceans, if maybe it's semi-salty, whatever it may be. How do we know? I think that absolutely life can find a way one way or the other. Sky Team Galaxy. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Good to see you in there too, Sky Team. Good to have you in there. Shami Dudar. Chris, do you follow Tyler from Secure Team? Not really. I mean, I'll go over there and I'll just, I'll watch to see what he's got every now and then, because every now and then some of you guys will come over, oh, you ought to see what he had on there. And I'm like, okay. And I'll watch it, but I really don't have the time. I don't. He's got some good stuff on there, I'll tell you that, because I have watched some of his stuff. And but lately I've been, just trying to keep busy with this stuff, But yeah, I mean, everybody says I think he's back now, so which is good. For whatever the reason he was going, like I said, my only thing was that I think he should, explain to people before he takes that vacation, or if, whatever it may be, for whatever reason, and just let people know, because I think that's the reason why most people are heated, right? They were just really angry, and, some of them are pretty bad. Yeah. Josh D. We'll call you Josh D. How's that? Joe's D, whatever it is. Debunkers will soon be like flat earthers. Pretty much. Phil Cox says, hello or hi, alien hunter. Yeah, I think Michael Stocky said, Chris, if the advanced technology are released to the public, like free energy, anti-gravity, and self-healing, how do you think society will change? Will people unify? Unifying, that's like a fine line. I think they would, but they'd find that they wouldn't have to, cause think about it, free energy. If you had free energy, what would you wouldn't have to worry about, think about everyday bills, right? If you were to have less of them, you wouldn't be stressed as much, because you want to make that dollar bill to be able to pay everything, right? Now, to me, I think it would, because people would feel better. They wouldn't be out to get what you've got if everybody had it, of course. anti-gravity, heck, you could be making it have all kinds of vehicles flying around. Of course, that could be bad because I've seen the way some people drive. So I can imagine what that would be like. Self-healing, that could probably work both sides, right? Because if you think about it, self-healing, let's say everybody could pretty much do that and heal themselves. I don't know how that would be good for the planet, although it'd be good for everybody because, I'm no longer ill, stuff like that, but people would live longer. Boom, population would explode. And I can't even imagine, like I said, how many people have lost their lives to whether it be AIDS, cancer, so on and so forth. How many does it kill every single year? Now, picture all those people not dying for years since it's been out, in the 80s? Now, picture all those people had passed on or died from AIDS if they were still here. They would have had kids, they would, so on and so forth. Yeah, I can imagine the explosion. So I don't know if it'd be good for the planet. It'd be good for the individual, but I don't know about the planet. Because like I said, at some point, and I forgot who stated this before, but basically a civilization will get so large, it'll implode on itself and basically defeat itself out. And that's kind of a scary thought. Kenneth Leary said there is no way that they were rocks. Thanks for absolutely. I don't believe that for a moment. And like I said, you can have these people. You can literally show something. I can put my phone clear as a bell, just sit it right on the Martian surface, and go, here it is. I go, oh, you added that. I mean, in one form or another, they would just troll you. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's comical. Not everybody's going to agree, and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? But to be downright, oh, he's delusional. He's not seeing this, blah, 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 blah. They're just shadows. I went, okay, first of all, there's no shadows in it and barely any, if any. And you can see these things are pretty darn clear within reason as far as Martian or Mars photos from NASA, right? They're pretty decently clear because these go back to, I think it was SAW 173. Those are pretty good. And if you notice, they made the rocks look like more like a mush, like they were softer on the edges. Some of them were jagged. If you look at them now, like a lot of the photos now, you can see like just jagged rocks and all kinds of crazy. All back then, look at the photos. Look at the difference in them. Just go back to the ones we get today. Go back to the ones like the 173, and look how smooth and mushy the rocks look. Why? Because they're not rocks. Not all of them, anyway. There's rocks in the photos. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that there's a lot of stuff that's been smoothed out, and everything just looks weird. Like you can tell they've worked the photo and the stuff that's in them. Let's just put it that way. James Cragen, you put on the hi, Chris, just checking in with you, man. And I am really looking forward to talking about the 3 fantastic videos from the last few days. And you can't blame me, Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I tried to get out the 2, but I said, I got another one I can put out. Why not, right? Blue Utopia, thank you again for the support. You said channel space videos. Let's see if this thing don't hop up on me. Let's do this instead. Channel space videos live. Selene Moon Orbit on YouTube 24-hour. You should go back. I'm sorry. You should go check it out as advice before. Facebook is off for me. Oh, okay. You should make a video of it. Yeah, I'll definitely check into that. I know they did one. Was it? It was JAXA. In fact, when you guys had told me on Facebook, you said, "Oh, you got to check out this video," because they had sent me a still of that particular video, and I may cover that. And I've done this in the past where I don't know if it was the NASA one that had done that. It was just it's like a 24-hour loop, not a 24-hour, but it was a loop around the moon several times. And we were able to bring out some of the areas that, as you can see, the orbiter going over the moon. And well, this was sent to me as far as a still. And I said, can you give me the official link? Well, they didn't have the link. It come from the JAXA and the Japanese space program, their video of the moon. And you can see like there's a couple of things in that. So we'll check that out too. And you can see it. It's so whited out, guys. It's just completely trashed. I mean, they're doing everything they can to hide all the depth and the crispness of these anomalies. Because I'm sure they're not all structures, right? But let's say the majority are. Either way, they're still trying to like just white over everything. Just white it out. I'll definitely check that out there, Blue Utopia, no doubt. John Devon, you said everybody has a life outside of research. You have to live your own life. People should not be upset if vids don't come out quick. It takes time and look and find the show stuff. And you're right. I mean, it is quite a long time because you get the photo. Is it worth doing? Because is there anything in the photo? Yes or no? No, toss it aside next. You get to the one, next. Until finally you go, well, it looks like there may be something in this. And then if you can find something, well, then you enhance it, which takes time. Then you put it into then you do some commentary over it, stuff like that. Make a video, put it all together, and then edit it, upload it. It takes a bit of time, and if you don't have the amount of time that you need, well, now you find yourself finishing it tomorrow. So, yeah, it takes a bit of time. I would think so too, Robert. You put on there if we had free energy and space travel, our society wouldn't collapse but expand outwards. Yeah, I believe it would too. It would be so much easier, right, to actually travel. We'd definitely be spacefaring, that's for sure. I don't know if we'd be reckless about it, but we definitely would be doing it. So yeah, you're right about that part. Space travel is, I think a lot of people, if there was a, can you imagine everybody having some kind of craft that could actually do that, go out into space? That would be crazy. But where would they go? So unless we knew that there was some places that you can land, meaning there was actually a civilization we already built on Mars, so on and so forth. That I can just see that in the near future, right? Well, not near future, but I can see that in the future where they'd be doing that. It'd be just normal, just travel back and forth. Wouldn't be no big deal. Oh, all right, Renee. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, it was that small. It had that little white rabbit, and they kind of like how they do it. They kind of like changed it where they had like different. I don't know if it was like different filtering or darkness of it, but it was you can see that like it looked like a rabbit with these two big ears. Like one was this way and one was. I know which one you're talking about now. Okay, yeah, it was pretty funky, and that's quite old too, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty cool though. Nick Mad, Nick is in the house. Love all your videos, Chris. Thanks. Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. I know you're just one of the guys who've been there, one of my subs there forever, and I do appreciate it. You're right about that too, John. Some people don't have an open mind. Well, it's not even. I don't even care about if people disagree with me. I could care less. They've got their own, opinions. They got their own the way they see things. But some of these people are just going click, 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 click. They're just jumping through the video and go, this guy's full of it. Well, wait a minute. First of all, you haven't done any research on any of this stuff, and some of the people just say, he's just making up stuff. Well, you haven't even watched the whole video. How do you know? I'm not claiming anything's 100% ever. I just say this really does look like this. That doesn't mean I'm saying 1,000,000%. I do say 1,000,000% has definitely been a lot of stuff's been redacted out of these photos. I do say that, there's manipulation and everything else, and that's evident if they just do their research. SC's in the house. I didn't even know you were in there. SC, you just snuck in there, I guess. Didn't even see you in there. Of course, it's probably because the page jumps up every now and then and probably skips some of these guys. So my apologies for that. Alan Pope, you said the Japanese video has been removed. I don't know. I'm not sure if it has because somebody just showed me a video of it. And in fact, it was just yesterday, I believe it was. I think it's on more than one channel that people are showing it. So it may not be entirely going. Maybe from one channel it was. I don't know. Alien Tenno, you said can't wait, although it may be years, to see detailed images of Europa and Titan. In my opinion, that's life there. Oh yeah, this. Listen, especially Titan. They're saying a lot of, it's a lot like Earth, so on and so forth. You'll definitely find oceans. I know they found those, but they're gonna find life in those. If they haven't already figured it out, and meaning seen that somehow, they'll find that. There's no doubt in my mind. Oh, let's see. Hate it when this thing does this. I click on one thing and like if you just kind of bring it down a little bit, it'll just shoot up real quick. Disclosure TV, you said, Chris, check out the Gateway Foundation, which partnered with NASA and SpaceX to build a sort of spaceport hotel as the very first outpost for getting humans to the moon and Mars. I heard about something like that, but I wasn't entirely sure. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Hold on. You go ahead and write that down. All right. Definitely be checking some of this stuff out. Alien Hunter, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Great channel to support. Happy to help if ever I can, Chris. Well, right back at you. You know that. I'll support your channel. You're doing great work. That's, I don't even care, man. It's what it's all about. If you got any subs interested in, by the way, my Lunar channel, let them know. Not that you don't do enough of your work, right? He's got tons of it. If you guys haven't checked out Alien Hunter, check his channel. I did some superb stuff on that. Patron, you put on there, since watching you, Chris, it is so much easy to spot the photo manipulations. It is. I mean, I had friends just looking and go, like, they'll look at a certain photo and they'll say, well, that's pretty cool. I said, yeah, it's Mars. I go, what's with this blur spot? I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see a blur spot. And it's like, wait a minute. So let me guess, the camera just happened to get, I don't really like that part of the photo. I'm going to go ahead and blur that part. Come on. And then when you can see whatever's underneath it is completely, just manipulated to the point it's not even crisp. Even with a blur, you should see some decent edges to it, right? You don't even see that. So what they do is they literally, do their manipulation and blur over it. So you really can't see what it is. Not good. Yes, guys, go ahead and smash that like button for me. Boom. Hammer time. We got 132 people watching, 72 thumbs up. Philip Wethington, the Bible talks about war in heaven. Chris, looking at what you show me, it proves the Bible is true. Well, here's the thing, too. It's like between the book, we'll say the good book, right? And we've got the, you look at India's writings and the Mahabharata, you look at stuff like that, and where they talk about, like I said, cities in the sky, these great cities firing amongst each other, and the weapons that are brighter than our sun. I mean, again, were they sci-fi writers way back in the day, or did they write about what they saw? I mean, it's kind of like they didn't really have free time, right? So they kind of like whatever they saw, if they felt compelled to write about it. So it makes sense to me that they would do that, and why not? It would not surprise me in the least bit. And they talked about, a lot of civilization talked about Mars, the god of war. They talked about how there was wars on the moon, Mars. I mean, you name it, Oops. Hate it when that happens. Arlene S. Hi, Chris. Do you ever follow UFO Seekers channel? I can't say that I do. I'm not sure. If you got a link to the channel, let me see it. I'll check it out. Valiant Thor, you put on there. What do you think about the theories about Mars being colonized from past 70s? I strongly believe, if we had going, it wouldn't surprise me because again, we did the Apollo missions back in it was late 50s up to the early 60s, right? And if we did that, like I said, I don't believe we stopped. I think we just pushed the envelope over and over and over again because think about it. We had a craft. We could do it. Okay, make a better craft. Can we get to Mars now? We've already been to the moon. We tried this. So then, that, technology became obsolete. Let's build something better. Can we get there? Well, yeah, we can get there in 9 months. Okay, can we do it sooner? Can we get there sooner? You know, these guys pressed the envelope. You know they did. So something tells me they could have very well been to Mars back in the 70s. What's the difference between going to the moon and Mars, other than distance wise? And they would have to watch out, supplies or whatever they need to get there. As long as they got enough oxygen on one craft, they got their suits, so on and so forth. What's the difference? If you got enough supplies and stuff to get there, space is still space. No matter how you look at it, space is still space. So, they got to get there. Of course, they got to worry about, muscle atrophy. You got to watch over stuff like that. So that would have been quite of a feat to do that. But I think it can be done. And I think we never stopped, to be truthful with you. I think we've been on the moon. I think we're still on the moon. I think we even went a whole lot further than that. Peter Berry, you said on the hi, Chris. If NASA announced they had found evidence of past civilization on Mars, would that change society on Earth? I don't think it would. Um, I don't think it would, to be truthful with you. I mean, I don't know if there'd be a like an initial shock because of it, or I'm not sure. What do you guys think? If you would have found, well, see, we're already talked about it. We've already talked this, but let's say you guys never heard a thing about it. Suddenly you're watching TV and this was sprung on you. I'd be like, okay, I don't see it. To me, I don't see it as an issue. I'd be like super excited. That would be me anyway. I'd be like, oh my God, really? I want to know more. I mean, that's just the way I feel. I mean, I can't speak for everybody on the planet, but I think that, I think, a lot of people would be on board with that and they'd probably want to know more about it. And how do we know that some people, because a lot of people have this loneliness feeling about themselves, if they knew there was another civilization out there, would they be going, oh my God? And I've always said this before, we are part of something much larger. We are not the only ones in this universe, guys, period. Some people say, oh, no, that's it. We're it. Really? Out of all these planets. And like I said, they talk about, there's ungodly numbers to explain how many stars and planets and, you name it, bodies are out there. There's no way we could possibly be the only life. It's just no way. And like I said, if you believe in the Big Bang, and I'm not so sure that I do, but it is still expanding. So at some point, it had to start from somewhere, right? And of course, they call it the red drift. And I've always said it's like a pebble in the water, So once it, you get your first initial waves, what about that very first wave? Is it possible that, let me see here. Okay, I seen someone. Oh, that's great. Thanks again, Blue Utopia. Great job as well, you said. I'll keep watching and hopefully work with you with my French channel one day. That'd be interesting. I'd like to do that. Midnight here. Got to go to bed with rain. That sucks about the rain. Keep in touch. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you stopping by and supporting the channel. Yeah, definitely. I mean, let me know. Drop me some links and let me know. You can do it on any of the channels, any of the videos that I post. You can always put a link there if you want. And we'll definitely share it too if we have to, definitely do that. Nacho's in the house. What's going on? He said, holy crap, didn't get a notification before now. Stupid YouTube. Great videos, man. Loved them. Good to see you back on. Well, I appreciate you there, Nacho. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Some of you guys get like, boom, it's right there and then nothing. Sometimes you don't get any of that. So I don't know what's up with that, to be truthful. I've heard about that. The juice put on there. Have you read NASA engineer David Burns' paper? He posted on the NASA server about a light speed engine. He says is possible. I heard about that. I'm not sure if it was, not sure what site it was, but I heard about that. And I'm saying, guys, it's all about the engine that they're going to use and how fast they can get there. That's what it comes down to. And it's going to come down to some people have said before that they can go to, of course it's top secret stuff, but they said they can go to the moon, Mars in like 20 minutes. How true that is, it seems a bit weird because, don't get me wrong, if you got an engine that can do like speed of light or whatever, or close to it, even if you didn't, if you can do Mark 7, 10, whatever it may be, whatever it may be that you can fly there twice the speed you're doing now, well, clearly if it's 9 months to get there, now it's 4.5. Then if you can get down in 2 months, whatever it may be. 2 months seems more realistic. A month is even better, but you're stretching it, but I don't know. James Grudenfelder listening in and enjoying the community. I'm sorry, commentary. Keep up the good work, Chris. Well, I appreciate it there, James. James Cragen, you put on there, Chris, I know you respect everyone's opinions when it comes to what they say about your videos, no matter what they decide to go with. But to be blunt, Chris, this time there can't be any doubt. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, to me, it's just like when I first saw that video, and that was again by Michael Witter. He had done this. He didn't go in depth like I did, and it was fine because he did a great job at it anyway. But I found, like I said, I'm surprised he didn't see the other things behind that particular black box. And so I decided to expand on it. And it's crazy. And, that's one of the things that stood out for me way back in the day. And that's what got, again, just initial things that got me kicked off and wanted to do it. And like I said, Will over at What's Up in the Sky 37, he was doing videos back in the day. And I was just like, oh my God, I was getting into all of this. I was looking at these photos too. And I'm going, gee, I wonder if I should stop making videos of this stuff. Sure and heck, I said, well, let's do this. Let's share what we find. Christian Yu, good to see you in there. Good to see everybody popping in here and there. Alien Town, yeah, unfortunately he is. Elon showed a lot of promise, but I'm afraid he's in NASA's pocket now. Yeah, I mean, he's working hand in hand with him, right? And, for like I said, but you can understand too, can you imagine working alongside of NASA? You know all the deal, man. You know the ins and outs. Like I said, when they had that, when he was talking about his first spaceship that he's building, like I said, that guy from right out there, when he can literally go up to the podium, or that was on the opposite side of him, of course, and he says, I don't believe what you say about it, Elon, about aliens either. And he kind of looked like that, and just that was the end of it. Kind of just shrugged it off. Yeah, okay. Darn well he's in the loop now. He knows everything that's going on, just like NASA does. I mean, my God, you're literally helping these guys with their supplies and their crafts and everything else, and helping them out. Why wouldn't they let them in the loop, right? So, the guy basically says, Elon says, yeah, I wouldn't mind dying on Mars. So yeah. Let me see here. Whoops. Hate it when that happens. Let's do this. Yeah, some of you guys are asking about the new channel, the Lunar Anomalies and beyond. Yeah, beyond. Here's the link right here. If you guys are interested, head over there, subscribe, hit the bell so you get all the notifications. Like I said, once that channel starts kicking in, we're up to like 851 subscribers. Got to hit 1,000 before YouTube even recognizes you as a channel. So once we get there, we still have to get everybody on board into that channel, because once I start putting all the moon, people will be like, well, how come you're not doing any more moon? And, common sense, right? They're not going to see it on Mars anymore. They're going to see it on the Lunar Anomalies and beyond. So if you haven't subbed, just head on over there and sub. It'd be appreciated. And, like I said, just hit that little notification bell so you get notifications when it works. So, yeah. Let me go way down here for a minute. Arlene asks, the TR3 Astra was patented in 1987. Well, it's just like the Blackbird, back in the day. That thing came out in the 50s. Nobody knew about it back then, to hide from radar. Now, think about this technology back then. Now, it may seem kind of lame now because it's like you can imagine the stuff we got now. But when you look at that craft, and it's a pretty big plane, it's bigger than you think. I've been there down to Alabama, where they had this museum of all kinds of spacecraft. Well, not spacecraft, but planes, and it was in there. And it's pretty darn large. It's a big plane, and that was back in the 50s. So when did they start coming up with plans for that thing? Probably in the 40s. Think about it. So you can imagine the stuff they have today. I mean, just look at the regular crafts they got now. All of the the fighter jets and stuff. Look at the technology going to them things alone. Good Lord. And what about the stuff you're not seeing, right? Let's see. Material you put on there. Do you think Elon knows what's up on Mars? I do. Yeah. Like I said, he's in the loop now. So, I mean, to him, he knows everything's going on, and you can bet he's probably thinking, you know what, before when I'm getting in with these guys, and he's got a subcontract through NASA and everything else to helping them out, meaning he's helping them out. Like I said, he's delivering supplies up to the ISS with his own rockets. You can bet this. He probably say, "Hey guys, let me in on it. What's up?" You know what I mean? Is there anything on there? Well, I'm sure he's in the loop. You can almost bet on it. Nacho. Almost 150 people watching. No drama. This is by far the best community in the world. Best people in the world are here. I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. You'll get them trolls. They'll come. You'll see them. They'll pop in there, just trying to, and that's fine. Because it's funny because they'll sit there and they'll get all these names. They'll make up all these names and they'll put on there. Just try to be like, put all these nasty words on there. And it's kind of like for the time it takes me a split second, like blinking your eye, click, bye. I mean, but they go through all the trouble thinking they're gonna like, I'm gonna disrupt the channel. It's like, take your best shot, man. They ain't gonna bother any of us. We'll just be like, oh, just another one. See ya. Pretty much it, right? Arlene S. You said NASA is flying cubes, discs, triangles, cigar, and globes. Well, cigar shaped, I guess you're saying. They can open an aperture for a quick space travel. They had the first disc working in 1967 by 69. I'm sorry, by 1967. Yeah, I don't know if they had all of that back in the day, but I know they had quite a bit. I mean, like I said, once you learned how to fly, meaning you got a good jet engine, and of course they were, like I said, in the 50s, they were hitting what, Mach 3, Mach 4, even way back, even more than that, I believe. And so then that was back then. Like I said, technology jumps by leaps and bounds, man. We're not talking about making like household dishes for your kitchen or your dining room set. You're talking about, leaps and bounds in technology. And look what we had back in the 40s and 50s where we had tubes, like tube radios, TVs rather. And then you had a hybrid system. You had solid state, electronics with, tubes. And then they went all solid state, made everything a lot smaller. Heck, even back in the day, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember the watch had a TV on it. It literally had a TV, but it also hooked up to something else. It went on your belt. It was part of the other part of the TV. But nonetheless, you had a TV screen right on your wrist. So you can imagine the technology that went into that, all the microconductors and semiconductors and everything else, this real tiny stuff, what they call surface mount components, SMCs. And, so you can imagine the technology they have today. It must be ungodly. So it would not surprise me that a lot of these things we're seeing in the sky are probably ours now. And of course, other things too. So now the question is which one's ours and which one's not. That's where the big question comes in, right? Yeah, Renee. Dick Tracy Television watches today's Apple Watch. You know what? A lot of them they talked about that. Remember? They're like, this will be the next technology, right? Hey, what's going on, Noodles? Good to see you in there. Haven't seen you in a while there. Good to see you. Oh, it's pretty cool. I live near the airplane graveyard in Tucson, Arizona. Dad talk with son. No one knows. Yeah, that must be pretty cool. He's going to shoot back out like it does. Sometimes they say, the comments being held for, review. And it's like, what for? A lot of them there's nothing there. In other words, it doesn't have to be cleared. There's nothing wrong with it. But as soon as you hit that, everything just flies up. It's like everything just goes right up big time. Richard Mortimer, good morning, everyone, you said. Good morning to you. No, they don't. John Devon, you said troll creepers don't last long here. No, not at all. I mean, I think it's just actually comical. Victor, you said, Chris, why do countries like Russia and China toe the line regarding buildings, sites, etc., on the moon and Mars? That's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of them are working along. Like I said, because we have like um, you know, I think, like I said, I've they probably have something like the United Federation of Planets or space agency kind of thing, and they all work together in a higher level. I'm not talking about the standard space agencies. I'm talking about like the black budget part of them, and they've gotten together and they work together. This is the reason why you'll never hear any leak from another country because they're all in it together. I believe that they're all working together in some way, shape, or form, and it may be good, meaning for the good of the planet, because if they all get together and they figure a way to uh, build a civilization quickly on Mars and maybe another planet after that, then of course we expand, become more spacefaring. And so I think it'll actually be beneficial. That's if that's what they're doing. Jim Donahue, you said, Chris, I'm part of MUFON in Minnesota and have taken pictures of UFOs that have been confirmed by them. UFOs that are ours have bolts, screws. Real UFOs are usually one part. Ours can't go very fast. Mach 12. Well, and I think you're right about that because they always say that it's like a smooth skin. You don't really see any like, like bulky kind of bolted together kind of things. I think that'll change as technology, especially if they back engineer a lot of these UFOs. I think you'll find a lot more of that happening, and they will get better and better. At least ours will, right? Plug a Doc, you said just subscribe to those who were lamenting their sub numbers. Yep. James Craig and Chris, the Zulu tribe was the one that we couldn't remember last week when we were talking about the moon being brought to the sky in ancient times by the sky people. Watched a video about it yesterday. Yes, but it seemed to me there's more than one though, because there's a lot of civilization around the world, right? Whether it be like I said, us today or back then, I believe there was more than one. It seemed to me there was several. Andrew, what's going on? He said, "Hi, what's up, Mars?" Noodles, you said new vid from Nimitz Encounters guy in 1 hour 45 minutes. Is that the guy that was one of the pilots? If it's the one I think it is, that was a really good interview. And you know what? The guy's definitely legit because he was a pilot and plus, he's pretty good ranked in there and really, really good stuff. When you just listen to this guy talk, and it's the way he said it when he looked down, he said there was something under the water. Did you see that? And he said something under the water, and this thing was just kind of spinning around and then going back and forth. But he talked about the crafts that they saw on the West Coast as well as the East Coast, right? And it was just crazy how they're seeing two different types on East Coast and West Coast. Makes you wonder. Yes, the doggone tribe, Libby. That's right. And the Hopis, right. Well, if I'm trying to remember, was the Hopis though? Weren't they the ones that said they almost had like their drawings look like ant people, right? And they said their gods came from underground, didn't they? I don't know if it was the Hopis or it was another Indian tribe that also said that. But yeah, they talked about the sky people, a lot of these Indian tribes, and the Dogon tribe. They do that celebration all the time. They have their dance and everything else. The Dogon tribe, pretty cool stuff. I appreciated that, Pluck a Duck. He said, no problem. Already fully subbed to you, Chris. I appreciate that. Bush Corey, what's happening? Good to see you in there. The government have got technology that could change the way we live on Earth overnight, but it's all about money and fossil fuels. Oh, absolutely. This is the reason why you see people, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but people that are trying to live off the grid, like they'll be in these tiny houses and they'll have their own little, because you can get the small wind generators, right? And then you got these solar panels. Some of these people, some of these states, no, you're not doing that. And you'd think they'd be like, well, it's good that they're separate from the grid now, but no, it's all about that money. I don't care if it's the power you're getting from is a nuclear power plant. coal burning, it doesn't matter what it is. They want your money. That's what it's all about. If everybody jumped off of that, who's these big companies making money from? Yeah. SC, I agree. I'd like to get one myself. He said tiny houses are great. And if you really think about it, how much of a house do you use? I know I got a friend of mine. He's got like a house with 5 bedrooms. I go, okay, so you got one child still left in the house. Now what? He's like, there's only so much you can live in. Mix and clear. You put on the high Chris. Virtually every moon pic I see, there are covered. They are. I'm sorry, covered with round ball objects everywhere. What's your take on that? Hundreds of them all over the place. And I've seen those in my photos, and I showed that where it looks like to be like a rectangular area and something sticking out with a ball on top. I mean, you can see plenty of those. Now, what those are, anybody's guess. I don't know. It could be anything from towers. It could be like a kind of like Nikola Tesla did, where he's distributing or transmitting electricity all over the place. That could be. It could be something like that. Who knows, right? It's hard to tell. We can only speculate what these things could be, but clearly they're not craters. We can all agree on that. What they are, again, pure speculation. All we can do is speculate as what it may be. Yeah, pluck a dog. Who was it that said size doesn't matter? That's true, though. I mean, if you can use a usable space, you want to sleep at night, shit, shower, and shave, and you want to eat. I don't know why anybody needs like a dining room area that you can park an 18-wheeler in. At least that's just me. Even if I had the money to do it, I wouldn't do it. Nacho, you said here in Denmark, you can't get off grid. If you get solar power, you have to feed back into the grid. You can't live off own generator and so on. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Why? It's because they have to have their hands in your pockets at one point. They just got to keep their hands in the pocket, keep getting that dollar bill off of you. But if you can live on your own property, live off the grid, capture your own rainwater, filter it, solar power, wind generator, doesn't matter, and just live off, the hell with them. You wouldn't need anybody to, like, who'd you be paying your bills to? They don't want that. Well, wait a minute, this guy's living off the grid. Can't have that. Josh D, you put on the I live small and it's great. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Smaller the better, I say. I mean, to me, it's just like I said, I need a place to lay my head. I need to shower. I need to do things. And I'm perfectly okay with something like a tiny house or something like that. I wouldn't care. Wouldn't matter to me in the least bit. He said, you will even be taxed the living hell out of if you pump water off the ground. Damn. There's a town over here. They literally charge you $1 per month for rainwater that comes off the roof of your house. I'm going, okay, so what pinhead thought about that? I mean, where does that even come from? That's nature. Why should you be charged for that? It's crazy. Maybe they think people are actually capturing the water and they're using and getting off their water, and they don't want to see that. So they're literally, charging for it. Either way, it's insane. Tiny house, garage on the side, quiet piece of land. Quiet piece of land. Sounds great. I agree, SC, no doubt. Bushcore, you said, I read an article about a guy who could run his house off a few car alternators. The government found his invention and shut him down, and raided and took it all away. Not surprised. Think about it. You can do it all day long. You can run a car, like you can run 2 or 3 alternators on it. In fact, a buddy of mine used to do that when we used to be into CB a lot. In fact, he had at one point he had a big Suburban that had 5 alternators on it, and you're talking about these things were like 300 amps or whatever the hell they were, and this goes back a long time ago. And he's running 20, 30,000 watts out of his vehicle, and easily could be done. Run DC, run an AC converter, boom, you're ready to go. Get yourself a good inverter size. Run the alternators right into it. There you go. And especially if the car is decent on fuel, and all you're doing is just putting a little bit, and you're running your whole house on it. Think about it. And if it's a tiny house, it's even better. You're running virtually almost nothing. Because if you think about it, what takes the most power? If you got electric heat, there's your electricity. That takes quite a bit. Refrigerator, nothing. I think it's most of them are like 800 watts startup. About startup amperage or wattage. We can go with wattage. It's like 850. And then, of course, once the compressor comes on and drops down to like 350, maybe 450 tops. So it's just a surge, amperage surge when it first starts up. But yeah. Yvonne Fournette, you put on there. I don't know if I'm, yeah, I said, I see a lot of your videos more than you talk about, and I realize Mars is just like Earth. Why would NASA hide that? Yvonne from Denmark. Well, a lot of people speculate it could be because of the technology that's on there and they don't want anybody else, other any other country to know. And unless, of course, like I said, a lot of these space programs are literally, sharing this information. I'm talking about the black ops part of these guys, and they're all in, basically bedfellows, I call them. And basically, that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. They get all the technology, they learn it, they take it, and hopefully it's for the good for the planet, right? Who knows? Jim Donahue, you put on there, Chris. I watched your Lunar video. That was a smoking gun. Unbelievable. Looks like vehicles, artificial objects. Yeah, I mean, I in a million years, when you start to enhance these, right, you're thinking, I'm probably not going to find a whole lot. I found things that look like crafts. Remember back in, when I did the other videos, moon videos, where it had the crater. You can see it from a distance. It had a crater wall. It had this craft, what looked like it was just on the side of the inside of the crater wall. Things that look like crash there. They've been there for thousands of years. Look like dilapidated, just kind of laying there on its side or whatever it may be. Was this attempts from other countries here back in the day trying to do that? Was it something other beings that tried? Maybe they were just, who knows why they would get there and suddenly crash there. I don't know. You think they'd be smart enough not to do that. But hell, even with the best technology we have today, it still can malfunction. Cars can break down. Of course, they're made to break down as far as I'm concerned. So yeah. Richard Mortimer, you put in, I think, how much difficulty we have exploring the oceans or just finding lost cities in dense jungle. We can't even get real facts on our own, our early pre-Adamite civilization. And you're right. I mean, heck, we even had a problem even getting to the deepest depths of the ocean. It's just, and God only knows what the hell's even under, water in our planet alone, right? I mean, there's so many things that we probably don't even know. I mean, was it Mariana's Trench, which is the deepest, they claim is the deepest part of the ocean here on Earth. And they've, when they sent down this bell and this camera on there, it was funky because you can see creatures swimming around there. Wait a minute. How much pressure is down there? It would literally crush a man like a piece of paper. And these things are just swimming around, just having a great old time. Yes, John Devon. Yeah, you put, yes, Hopi sky people. They dress up like the sky people. Looks like astronauts. Yep. Had the big old mask on their face. And, they got the leader of the tribe and stuff like that. It's pretty cool stuff. MG Toe says, thumbs up, everyone. Smash it good. Noodles, you said 8 sightings, no answers, 8,000 more questions. Yeah, it's almost like the more you see, the more you really want to question, right? I mean, like I said, when I look at these moon photos after they've been enhanced, I just think to myself, if you can actually like engulf yourself into that picture and actually, if you can actually picture yourself being there, just going, who the hell put these there? Why? How long ago? I mean, there's like a bunch of questions come into mind. You're thinking to yourself, what the hell? But it's on a positive side as far as I'm concerned right now. Some people might get a little frightened about it because they say, oh my God, you wouldn't believe some of the things I've seen in these photos. And it kind of scares the hell out of them. They said, they're like uneasy. They get an uneasy feeling. Well, again, let's suppose that 100% it's like everything, we're seeing is the real deal, right? I don't still think there's anything to worry about. Because if you think about it, think about this. We've got this civilization that lived there. Now, I don't know if it was there thousands of years before civilized man was here. But if it wasn't, and there's still something on the moon, they would have attacked us so far if they were dangerous or they were aggressive or whatever they were. So I think you guys would agree with that. If they really wanted to, and they literally live on the next body in our solar system, which is our moon, they would have attacked us a long time ago, incinerated the planet, or did whatever they have to do, just let out some kind of pathogen or something like this, kill everything on the planet. As far as us, who knows? That's good water. Oh yeah. Noodle says 25% of folks have had or a direct family member has told them of a UFO encounter. Feel free to tell us stories of your UFO experiences. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's seen something, which would still make it unidentified, right? So I'm sure they've seen something pretty darn clear and something kind of vague, but regardless, they still see it. Dawn has broken head says, I've seen a couple UFOs, best one from Orion's Belt. All right, Susan, good having you in there. Have yourself a good night there, right? And have yourself a good week. And I appreciate you being here. Let's see, they jumped off on me here. Let's go. Not sure. Wife asked if that's alien water. She says she don't see hidden cars in the bottle. Oh, but there is. I'm kidding. Yeah, I just got this right off of Mars. It's pretty good. It's actually highly salty, so I'll probably be extremely thirsty after this. Oh, not like brine water. Oh yeah. Mags K, you said, I think we've just colonized what was already on the moon. Well, that could very well be. I said the same thing about Mars, where I think there's structures everywhere there. And I think if the astronauts did go, in whether it be in the 70s or going, they're just going to occupy what's there. Whatever's not in ruins, they'll just occupy that. And like I said, I think there's a lot more. You can breathe more than what they're saying. Even if you had to have like a light breathing apparatus, I think you could walk around on Mars with no problem at all. And, somebody had told me, he said, oh, you don't understand, man, because it was one of these trolls that was in there. And he said, it gets to, what the heck did he say? It was like 238 degrees below zero. I'm thinking, where the hell is this guy getting his information? And even if it was that, it's probably near the poles, which they're not at the poles. They're at the equatorial region. So, and I said, you do realize that it can get up to 80 to 100 degrees on Mars. And now some people will question it. They go, well, how the hell can that be? It's further from the sun. Right, but there's hardly any, atmosphere. There's nothing to filter out the heat. Of course, there's nothing to filter out the radiation. But again, it has its own sporadic, magnetosphere in certain spots of Mars. So you actually are protected in certain areas. So I strongly believe you can literally live on Mars with no problem. Now, if it does get cold, because you get these huge temperature swings, you're underground. You're inside these buildings. It's like, people that live in Alaska and the coldest areas. Do you think they freeze? No, I mean, it gets downright cold there, but yet you're good and warm. Daytime breaks, well, you're out and walking around. I don't think there's any problem at all if somebody would be living up on Mars right now if they really wanted to. Yeah, Hellion 10 of them 3 astronauts after being first humans on the moon. Now, I've had the time of my life, but their faces told a different story. Oh yeah. Yeah, they seem much more than what they're saying. I mean, like I said, I still don't to this day understand how you can be in this press conference and like I said, you can see them all just sitting there and they're just like, I mean, I expected one of them to say, "Oh, just kill me. I don't even want to be here." You could just see that in their face. They were. It's kind of like if you've seen the same thing, right? And then all of a sudden you come back and you debriefed and you said, "Oh, by the way, you got a press conference to go to because you are the first man on the moon." You are not allowed to say any of this, of course. You guys know that. So you can imagine what's going through their mind, what they seen on the moon. Okay, you know, these things must have been huge, right? And so they get there and they're in this press conference and they're going, "Oh my god, I just don't want to deal with this right now." They're probably thinking, right? Because there's so much to gather and try to wrap their heads around that they probably couldn't. They just didn't want to be there. You could just tell. The guys are like, "Oh my god, can somebody shoot me so I can get this over with?" That's basically what they look like. I mean, they didn't even want to be bothered. Paul McKenzie said, saying good night. Really like listening to and reading all of the comments. Take care. Thank you, Paul McKenzie, for stopping in. I do appreciate you. You have yourself a good night there, right? Again, you're right about that, John. You said Kachinas, I believe, is what the Hopi call the dolls that represent the sky people. You're right. Absolutely right. Mike Sinclair, he said, Chris, what is roughly the distance that the moon photos are taken from to get sort of perspective on the size of the things we are seeing? The LROC is 75 miles off the lunar surface. So now keep in mind when they see a crater, let's suppose there's a structure near a crater, they automatically assume that these structures must be humongous. But keep something in mind when you do look at these. You can have a crater this big. You could literally have a little pockmark right on the lunar surface, up to 3 miles in width. So that's the real question too. Is like how big is that particular crater, and how big is the object near it? That's a question too. You have to take into consideration. But some of these craters are not very big, and then so you got a crater, you got these little structures next to it. Let's suppose, I don't know, we're gonna say one's like a quarter mile in width. Well, you don't know every size of every crater, so it's kind of hard to, you know, say, well, let me try to judge the size of these structures. It does make it a little bit more interesting, right? The water must have excellent vitamins for eyes. Yeah, I believe it or not, this is aqua crappa. Um, so I just drank out of it once. I think I even emptied it out and I just have my own filtration system. I'd rather use that. I mean, what was the other one too? You can tell they're not sponsoring me there, right? That would be bad. But anyway, they had what was the other one there? I call it a different name. They lied about it. They were saying that they're pure spring water, and come to find out they weren't. They were actually filtering. That's what all these companies do. They just take whatever water and just filter it through giant filters, and there you go. Ooh, spring water. You'll know spring water because um, I went into a buddy of mine's land up in Maine, and he says, "Oh, I have a spring over here. It's literally spring water." I said, "Yeah, I know. I've heard that before." I said, "It's probably got moose piss and everything else." He said, "No, you don't understand. And it actually it's coming out of the ground. It's not running down a river." Oh, let me check that out. You can always tell spring water. Yeah, I'll tell you how, because there's no taste at all. There's no taste. I literally drank it and I was like, I couldn't get my brain to wrap around because there was no taste to it at all. I was like, that is weird. Because you got to remember, it's going through the sediment of the ground and that's its own filter, right? So makes sense. Last week you put on here. Once came across some teenagers that thought the Northern Lights was an alien invasion. Ugh. I hope you schooled them a little bit. Let them know. Bush Corey, you are correct. Things always find a way to adapt to its own environment. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah, Josh D. Yeah, the first moon crew looked like they were coming from a funeral. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Matt Jones, you said craters seem shallow. Yeah, like I said, you can go from one that's gigantic. I seen one, and I don't remember the name of it. It was like a mile wide, and I'm going, okay, that makes sense. I'm not doubting the width of these things. What I'm doubting is the depth. Why hasn't it gone deeper? If you see something that large, where is it? Why isn't it concaved? Why isn't it? Where's the rock that hit it in the middle? Even if it was to bounce, because it's really no gravity. I don't care if something came in and just slammed that thing like that. Darn well, because there's nothing to slow it down. Darn well that it should have made a crater and a half, and it's not. It's literally, you can still look at the big craters. Just hear what I'm saying. Look at you can actually see the curvature of the moon. Let's picture a crater right there, and it's still got that same shape even in the crater. It's not concave. It's more convex, like the actual shape of the lunar surface. How does that make sense to anybody? And then you can look at these smaller craters that are just as deep. Larger ones are just as deep as the small ones. In other words, there's not much variance in depth. How is that possible? Unless there's actually a tough outer layer skin to that moon. I've seen a video where I've seen something come off. It was like heading towards the moon. It literally bounced, and off the other side it went. That's a possibility because it's like skimming a rock on the water, right? If it comes in a certain angle, it can do that. And especially if, the speed it's going at. And you could literally see like plumes coming out of it. It's like bounce, and off it went to the other side, right off the moon. So that's a possibility, and I believe that. But, okay, still, it wasn't concaved, even if that was the case. Paulie Mackey said the astronauts are not actors or into show business, so if they have something to hide, it's hard to say. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, they probably just told him, not allowed to say anything. And I can't even imagine, how do you stifle that? How do you not talk about it? Studious Realism, good to see you in there. He said the moon is an awesome ship. Well, if it's not a ship, it's definitely a sphere to hide a civilization or, a civilization living on the moon. One way or the other, even if it's purely natural, and I'm okay with that too, of course. Then either way, there was something, or something is still living on our moon. That's all there is to it. Yep. Studious Realism. The moon crew was scared. Yeah, when they came back, they pretty much were not happy. They were definitely preoccupied. They definitely didn't want to be there. Doc Chuck, Little Chuck, Noodles. Hello, Chris. Tap water here in Louisville has enough chlorine for a hot tub. It's scary what's in the water here. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's, I think I'm trying to remember what the heck they put in the, I'm going to draw a blank on this too. Is it the fluoride they put in the UK water? It's supposed to be really good for you, and it's probably one of the healthiest water out there. I'm not sure if it's the fluoride or something else. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. But yeah, I mean, you literally have to filter out your own water, man. You just can't use that crap. Like I said, I've got like a filter that has 5 filters built into one. It's even better than this crap here. Yeah. Pluck a duck rather says the funeral of their mental health due to PTSD. Yeah, I mean, this is the reason why you had Buzz going into like hiding and stuff like that. You didn't see much of him. Basically turned into an introvert for a while, right? Didn't want to be bothered. Didn't want to have anything to do with anybody, and there you go. Josh D, you said compare the moon craters to, say, the Berringer crater. This difference is stunning. Well, what I find interesting is, like I said, just about every crater you look at has been hit directly on the moon. It's not like skidded into this way. You don't see like this, like giant walls, like something skid into it. It's always directly right into it. And you can see the walls are almost perfect. Not all, of course, but a lot of them are. Just makes you wonder. It's like, okay, is it every rock ever hit that moon in such a fashion that it's all dead on, straight into the moon surface? I don't believe that's true. Philip Wellington, yeah, you said, Chris, I drink it right out of the ground. It's way better. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's a spring coming up, right? Because again, it's going through the sediment. It literally filters out. It's like a natural filter. And as long as you don't have anybody around there, like some kind of giant factory or anything polluting the groundwater, you're good. Valerie Hackbarth, you put on the I've been watching for about a month now. Great work and thank you. Well, thank you for that. I tried this, found random pics to work with. I had a hard time analyzing and believing what I was seeing. Is this normal? Absolutely. When you first start doing this, and I know anybody who's been pulling these photos apart, you'll agree with me on this. When you first analyze, you're going, okay, that's not real. I mean, literally, you literally pass it off because your brain cannot comprehend that at first. You're just kind of going, that can't be true. There's no way this is real. I mean, and then you say, okay, let me get another photo. So you get another photo, and of course, there's different things in the photo, but still they look very much identical. And you go, oh wait, okay, wait a minute. I've seen it in that photo, now I'm seeing it in this one. And if you're enhancing them correctly, which there's not a whole lot of different ways to enhance these photos, especially the moon ones, then you just can't come. Your mind's trying to wrap itself around the idea that these things are there. But once you do, you hurdle that, and you're so much better, right? It's crazy the stuff you'll see in there. Jack Ball TV, you said, do you think the first Artemis crew on the moon will look at structures and show them? It's kind of like, let me answer that question with another question. It's kind of like, what do you think the first people on that go to Mars is going to do? And I've been asked that, a few times, around. And they say, well, Chris, do you think they'll share what they see? I don't believe so. Because we literally have cameras on the ground now, and they won't even show us. So I mean, they may show it like a video, like maybe in a certain part of Mars where there's nothing there to see. They may go, oh yeah, look at that. They're kind of like taking selfies, but in the background, they're like, oh yeah, look over there. You know what I mean? So, you'll probably see rocks and everything else, but they're not going to show anything of any value. You can almost get, and that would suck, to be truthful, but it is what it is. I just don't think they're ready to let the cat out of the bag. They were getting that dripping kind of disclosure kind of thing going on, but that's pretty much it. Brett Butterfield, you said it's that time again. Eyes closing. Bye all. Have a wonderful time. Thank you, Brett, for stopping by. We do appreciate you. Have yourself a good night there, right? Claire, you said, I do worry about the tap water. If you do, you can get yourself a good filtration system. I mean, and you don't need anything big. I mean, hell, any of the filters you can buy that goes on the tap, or the ones that go in line. A buddy of mine's got one that's got these three tanks, and it filters out different things, carbon and all kinds of other stuff, and the foul taste in the water and all this other stuff. I mean, they can be costly, but you think about what your body worth, right? So, you got to do what you can to, protect your body, so to speak. Dawn has broken. You said fluoride is poison in small amounts. It can be. Yeah. That's why you got to be careful on all this stuff. That's why I try to filter out as much of this trash as I can. It's not good for you. James, you said, Chris, on the Apollo 10 video, on the 3 minute, 6 minute, and 7 minute mark and onwards is just frightening as to what is clearly visible to see. I can't understand how this video is not headline news, honestly, man. Well, it makes you wonder. It's almost like, because think about it. You got people here that, people that pass through the videos, right? And they can't believe it. So right off the bat, they leave some kind of negative comment, which is, their prerogative. They just don't believe it. They don't believe it. But is it because they don't believe it, or is it because they're just going, okay, I can't get my mind wrapped around that. The fact that it's there, it can't be. So therefore, it's trash. You know what I mean? Of course, they'll type in that, and that's fine, but I believe anything negativity breeds negativity. I just get rid of those comments, because it does. Just people will go on there. You don't even have to even watch the video yet. Let's say you just happen to go down a couple, scrolls down on your mouse or just on your page, and you're looking as, let's say there's two or three people say, well, I'm just not seeing it. I think it's trash. Well, right off the bat, you got a already predisposed idea what this video is going to be like. So you put so like I said, I just think it just, like I said, negativity breeds negativity. So I just get rid of the comment. I don't mind that people disagree, because they'll say, I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's this. I leave them, because that's their opinion. It's when the people come by and they didn't even watch the video. Like I said, that one I told you about Mars, that one I had those little, what look like, and I call them toys or whatever. It literally had, the guy said, those are shadows. I said, what part of those things do they have shadows on them? And if there were shadows at all, there was barely anything to see. So I don't know where the hell it was. So you clearly didn't. You knew he didn't watch the video. You knew he didn't. Pat Seek, when you put on the moon's gravity must pull the objects to make these impacts. Well, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, because if you think about it, something's racing through space at 27 to 50,000 miles an hour, whatever it may be, if gravity or no gravity, if the moon's in the way, it's going to slam it. So if thing is coming in, and keep in mind, there is no atmosphere to burn it up and shrink the object. So it's like if we have here on Earth, you have something that's pretty large, maybe something size of a subcompact car, let's say. It'll get a whole lot smaller, like in a ball, by the time it's even goes through our atmosphere, if it doesn't completely burn up. So with the moon having no atmosphere, and if there is, it's barely enough to talk about. It's just going to come in and just slam right into it. I mean, there's nothing to slow it down, shrink it. So these things it's one of them punch holes completely in the moon. Well, of course, it depends on the size, right? But you get the idea. It's just, I don't know how it happens. I agree, Noodles. You said on their perfect craters are so suspicious. And some of them, they look like they're intelligently made. They're like crisp. And I'm talking about crisp edges. Like you don't see like the ejecta coming off the sides of them. They're just crisp. And then you see like a little bit of ejecta. It's like, how does something get that exact roundness? Or was it made to look that way? I don't know. Valerie said on there, thank you for the validation. It was confusing. It was a confusing moment. What is going on with the bugs? Also, I see some form of humanoid in several of your videos. Do you see them, or anyone else see them? Truthfully, I don't. And I always tell you guys, a lot of my subs, I say I don't normally see humanoids and stuff like that. I usually see like structures, mechanical parts, so on and so forth. Some people seem to have a keener eye or see these little humans or something. But like I said earlier in this live hangout, I said that I've got a Mars video coming out, and I've seen something in there, and I'd never thought in a million years it would pop out like that. And I never had to do a thing to this thing. It's literally in this big gigapan. And once you see this thing, you go, how in the hell is that thing there? Because I don't normally see these things, but this thing popped right out. And you'll see that it should be, because like I said, once I get off here, I'm going to finish editing that thing. It'll be out tomorrow, just afternoon, just after 1 o'clock. You guys will see that. I was thinking the same thing, Mick. You put on there, Chris, could the moon have a metal-covered frame preventing impact depth, hence the ringing sound too? I think so. I mean, again, they've found these, like titanium, which is really hard steel, right? They found different metals on there. Now, does that mean it's got to do with the hull of them? We're going to call it the hull, right? Or the outer surface of the moon? Not necessarily. It could have been it come from outer space, right? But when something rings like that, like the moon did, okay, now iron core, if you hit it just right, can have this weird sound to it and sound metallic. But for it to ring like hours on end after that, doesn't make sense. I don't believe that at all. I think there's something much more to that moon than we can ever imagine. And I think we're starting to see more and more of it as we uncover these photos. Jim Donahue says, as far as impacts on moon, they're the same distance going down is because it's hollow. The drilled on the moon and it echoed for out. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. They did actually hit it with the third stage of these rockets. And like I said, they brought the seismographs up there for a reason. So, and then they slammed these things into the moon. They already had this idea in their head to do that. Now, whether it be moonquakes, whatever it may be, they had it up there for a reason. And then they slammed this thing. Why would they do that unless they had maybe an inkling of it? Now, is it because of other scientific studies, meaning had nothing to do with them thinking it's, maybe hollow? Something tells me they did. If you're on the surface, you may actually be able to tell it's hollow. Who knows? Maybe from areas that go into the moon or whatever. Who knows? They've seen it all. I'm sure of it. Yeah, it is Miss Heard. How you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Haven't heard from you. Hope everything's good. Everybody else is saying hello as well. Mr. Wayne, Phil Cox, everybody's in there. Libby's in there. Saying hello. Valerie Hackworth, yes, they did. Hackbarth, I'm sorry. They bombed the moon, yes. And like I said, they'd done that with the two spacecraft, and I don't remember the name. Maybe you guys remember, but it happened, what, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 years ago, where they wanted to test the actual part of the lunar surface. They want to see if there's any water on there, which is kind of a crazy way to do this, right? And like I said, they sent two crafts. One was behind the other, and once one had the warhead, it exploded. The ejector came off the moon. The other craft behind it was to measure anything that was in the dust, maybe H2O, whatever it may be. But funny enough, like I said, that it showed them two people at their desk, and it said NASA Ames, and it showed the guy with his arm on this photo of the moon, and it showed structures. You can actually see structures on there. There's a big square structure sitting right there. Again, not coincidence as far as I'm concerned. Metalhead, what's going on? Good to see you in there. I think you just popped in there, didn't you? I haven't seen you in there. Glad you did. Thank you, Pizza Vlogs. I appreciate the support. Dark Chalk, little chug. You put on there my theory. The moon outer layer is baked solid from solar micronova, baked every 10, 15,000 years. So if moon is 100% natural, that may explain the anomaly. And that may be very well true. You know what I mean? Or it's like more of an iron core or whatever it may be. But just imagine, because I know a lot of you guys have seen that photo where it looks like this, shows the moon and it has a cutout and it shows like some kind of, almost looks like a giant gyroscope in the middle of it. And it looks supposed to look like a city inside this thing. I don't know if I'd push it that far, but you could bet there's something, if it was on the moon or still is, they still probably fly in through the lava tubes and everything else and probably have a city down there. Who the hell knows? It's kind of like a giant wasp nest, right? It is flying it out of this thing. Uh, and see, you put on there, Chris. There is a video showing that rocket being shot down before hitting. Yeah, there was. Now I don't know if you're talking about the other. I think you're talking about the third stage rocket. You can literally see it like launch and it tumbled. Now I don't know if I remember seeing it actually hitting the moon, but I remember seeing it tumble towards the lunar surface. But yeah, I mean, who plans to do that, and why would you do that unless you had an idea or something? Probably saying, man, this stuff is not. I think they even said that the moon dust wasn't very deep. Now I don't know if it was like within inches or whatever it was, but yeah, because what happens if it is? It's just an outer layer. It's like this thick metal surface. Who knows? So they just said, you know what? We got an idea. This thing may be hollow. Why don't we go ahead and hit that and see what happens? See if we can bust a hole in it. Can you imagine? Of course, this is getting total sci-fi, but can you imagine if there's a civilization living in and they broke a hole in a darn thing? These things come out like freaking hornets and decide to just like decimate the planet. That would be bad. That would really screw up a perfectly good day, wouldn't it? Daniel Webster, you put on there, I used to laugh at people that call the moon a spaceship. Now I'm not so sure. Well, yeah, I mean, again, most of it's speculation because we're saying, well, it could be this, could be that, because there's no way for us to know, right? We can't personally go there and check it ourselves, although I wish I could. There's no way to check it, so we don't know. But it kind of looks that way, and you can see, like I said, the motives that NASA had to even try to attempt that. What's the point? Were they trying to start a moonquake? Which we know that wouldn't be the case. So why would they do that? Mr. Wayne says, "Hey, Chris, how are you doing?" I'm doing fine, Mr. Wayne. How are you holding up? Thanks for everything you do. I'm just fine. Just doing my thing. And thanks for everybody being here, because you keep guys saying thanks for what I do. Yeah, I do my job and I do, I bring these things out to you guys. But again, if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no channel, right? So, kudos go for you guys. And especially the people who are actually taking these photos apart and doing it themselves. And I'm getting more and more people actually sending me stuff now because they're looking at it too. And that's, you know what, to be truthful, that my job's done to get people to start looking at this stuff and making their own decisions. I'm not here to dictate what it is on these photos. I'm just saying this is what it looks like. I want you guys to take a look and tell me what you think, right? And I say that in every video because I want to hear your thoughts. It's about like a community that we have. We're trying to figure out what these things are. It could be pure speculation on all our parts. You know what I mean? And again, because I feel it is because there's no way to vet any of it, and I've always said that. Because again, we can't touch the thing. We can't. Ooh, wow, that feels like plastic. Or there's no way of us knowing this. I have seen that cosmic night you put on there, Chris. Have you seen the video of the supposed joint landing? I'm sorry, lunar landing with Russia, where they found a female alien named Mona Lisa, and she reportedly had 6 fingers and 6 toes. I saw that. Now, I think we discussed this not too long ago, and I don't. To be truthful, I'm 50-50 on the fence about that. To me, and I'll tell you why. When I looked at that thing really close, what I saw was the things going from the eyes to the nose. I mean, it just looks so fake. It's like, why would those things even be there? It's almost like they were trying to make it not look like us, but yet somewhat humanoid. So I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I know if you guys have seen it. What do you guys think? I'm on the fence about it. I'm really leaning towards the hoax side, but is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Is it more of a hoax? I believe it is, but that's just me, right? Daniel Webster, you said, I think someone put the moon there, and I think they're still around. And they may still very well be. They may be on the moon. David, you said, night from the UK. Well, if you're taking off, I appreciate you hanging around and joining us, and have yourself a good one there, right? Joss D, you said the moon is way too big to be a normal satellite. Its size is enormous compared to other moons in the solar system. A UK show said Earth had a second little moon way out in space. I've said that myself. They think it might have been a burned out dwarf at one time, but it's hard to tell. But it is. It's in an elliptical around Earth, and it's really long. I don't remember how far this thing is, meaning it goes out into space. But we do have another one. It's a lot smaller than the moon we have, but it doesn't look like it's round either. And it's really, really small. But yeah. We actually have 2 moons. Pluckett Doug, you said, what is the reason they bombed the moon? Was it self-defense? I don't believe it was. I think, again, they were trying to, according to NASA, was trying to see if there was any water on the moon. And I don't know if they were trying to check out some kind of chemical makeup of the lunar surface. But if you think about it, weren't they on the moon to do those same studies? Think about it. And so to me, that seems bogus. Now, the water thing may not be, because there is actually water on the moon. You can look this up. They're starting to find more and more of it, by the way. So we got water on the moon. And somebody said at one time, and I don't remember what it was, but they said, how do we know the moon wasn't a regular planet at one time? If you look at Mars, look how many, craters it's got on it. How do we know that wasn't a small planet at one time? Let's just say hypothetically, and we're going to get all sci-fi on you guys. Let's say for argument's sake that this moon it wasn't from here. It wasn't ours. And it did come, and the ancient people seen it. There was a time before there was no moon, right? So now, how do we know this wasn't a little planet and it was brought here? Did it move on its own? How do we know? It's hard to tell. It really is. Again, it's sci-fi and stuff on you guys, but there's so many theories going around about the moon. But the one thing you can guarantee that some of the things that's going on in that moon is strange, and the objects that are on there is even stranger. But not anymore. I mean, if you guys watch enough of the videos, you can actually see the things, and now you're accustomed to it. And like I said, now that you've seen these objects on the moon, you can't unsee them. And like I said, they're so much different than we can imagine as far as the way they build. Like I said, some channels will be, oh, look at they're all rectangular, and they're this, that. No, they're not. I mean, just from the photos we see, and again, it's hard to beat something that's only 75 feet off the lunar surface, right? So when you see these things, you're just seeing like they look like either domes, they look like they're on pads, they're on, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. What they are, if there's multiple things, it's hard to tell because we're not getting that kind of detail and we're not that close in. Now, if they were 50 miles off the lunar surface, we'd see detail, which much, much better, right? Of course, they probably already have done that, or they've zoomed in, you can bet on it, and seen things much better than what we ever see in these photos. Yes, Pete. Yeah, lots of domes like structures on the moon. Absolutely. Renee, you said I saw it. Two gigantic growing red rock blobs, two continent sizes. WTF? Oh my God. Hello, Rachel. Good to see you in there. I don't know if you just jumped in there, if you've been in there for a little bit. Like I said, sometimes I'll click down because I'm trying to get everybody's questions, and I know I'm missing a couple of you guys. So if I missed you, just go ahead and just ask the question again, or just throw your comment. Try not to miss anybody, but it happens, Um, again, I'm not trying to, but they're good to see you in there, Rachel. Oh, okay. Studio Realism. You said Earth file with Linda Howell rather confirmed the ET autopsy video is real. She talked to the photographer. I'd like to check that thing out a little bit deeper though, because I seen it and I thought it was pretty interesting. The problem with it is, like I said, it did have that kind of fakeness look to it. Now I'm not saying it was entirely fake, and I'm open to the possibility of it. And but I definitely have to look into it a little bit more. Miss Radier said the Blob creeped me out as a kid, but watched every rerun. Um, I'll tell you what was crazy when the movie itself, the Blob. When you see the newest one out, that damn thing growled. That's like, when you first seen the other one. Remember, it was like it just came out of a. I think it came out of a can, didn't it? It was some kind of weird thing. It popped over, popped off, and it ran down the counter because it ate the kitten or whatever it did. And they kind of did the same thing here, or was it no? There was a guy fooling with it. Remember? I don't know. How did that even start the original one, guys? Was it the old guy that was over there and he's like, it crashed next to his house and he was like stuck it with a stick and went up the stick and started and ate him. But it seemed to me one of them was on the counter and the top popped off or something. But the newest one, which I think was in early 2000, it came out 2000s, was the Blob. That thing was crazy because it literally growled, and I was like, okay, that's a new twist. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either, guys. To be talking, you guys are talking about the Blob. You said, Renee, you said, what is that blob made out of, and why is it growing inside Earth's mantle? Not sure. I'm not even sure. I've never seen anything about. I never heard anything about it. To be honest with you, you said third phase of the moon did it, right? Yeah, that I'd have to check out myself because they've been known to be like a little iffy, if you know what I mean. Oh, okay, Rachel. Well, good to see you in here anyway. You said I just got here. Well, I'm happy to have you aboard. Yeah, exactly, misheard. Yeah, because like I said, one of them, it seemed to me one of the movies, like I said, it was on top. The guy came in, had a can. I don't know if you guys remember this. Came in, he laid it on the kitchen counter, dropped it, just went boom, slammed it on the counter, walked away. And I think he was having a couple brewskis watching TV, and this thing went boop, it just popped off, and it literally came out of the can. It ran down the side of the counter, went down to the floor, and the little kitten was playing with it, got eaten. And so I'm not sure if that was the one or that other guy because there was two versions. I think there might have been three versions of that movie. And like I said, the other one looked like some kind of hobo who's in the woods and he's picking up with a stick, and then the thing crawls out and the thing gets on his arm. And I think they did that to the newest Blob. They had something like that. So yeah, I'm a little confused. It's been a while since I've seen the original one, but what do you guys think of that? That was just bizarre as hell. Yeah, the meteorite. You're right. But it seemed like I said the very first one there was something that popped out of a can. Something you don't want to be eating. Apparently, that's a food that'll bite back. Okay, yeah. Rolando Alves, you put on the probe that hit the moon was called the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite. Yeah, aka LCROSS. I call it lacrosse, but yeah, you're right. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, remember that? When I had the damn thing growl. Remember that? Remember the thing was it ate one of the people. I think it was they were checking the guy out or the person out. They left the room. They came back and the damn thing was up on the ceiling when they can see the guy's face. Help me and everything else. It was pretty bizarre. Good one there. Josh Steve said, if your food wants to eat you, it's time to change your diet. You got that shit right. You got that right. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that was pretty interesting too. The thing back in 1982, that was pretty bizarre. Literally become its host. Yeah, it's kind of the first time I'm hearing it too about it, Pam Stone. You said, wait, there's an actual real blob? I haven't heard of this. Rachel, you said, does anyone here think the sun is going through a growing phase to a super red giant at the moment, and we're not being told the truth as their excuse is that it's global warming, which is why a rush to to Mars? Well, I mean, they do say that at one point. Now, of course, they talked about millions of years. The way they were talking, Rachel, they were talking about how it would be like a super red giant type thing, and it would swallow each planet in our solar system. So eventually, we'd have to get off that planet too, right? Um, but like I said, there's a lunar cycle every 11 years. There's a peak at every 11 years, and so every planet does in fact warm up, right? I'm not sure. I haven't checked the cycles out in a long time because like I said, when I used to talk skip on the CB, I used to do that every 11 cycle. Forget about it. If you were trying to, let's say you're back in the day, your only communication was CB. Yeah, well, good luck to you if you weren't off 1 to 40. If you were on it, you were screwed because there was so much noise, other states coming in, other countries, and everything else. But at the 11th, uh, every 11th year, there's a peak in that solar cycle, and it's bizarre. Yeah, everything warms up. Mars is warming up. Every planet's warming up. It's not just global warming thing. Um, but if that's true, if it's doing it now, what was that guy's? He's very good at what he does. I'm gonna try. Let me see if I can find that channel for you guys. That's pretty cool. I'm trying to. It's something observatory, something like that. Hold on. Let me find it for you guys. Um, Let me jump on my channel here. Okay. No, it's not that one. I have several ones in here. Um, okay, there we go. The suspicious observer, he does everything about it. It says climate forcing is his last one, his latest one rather. I'll give you guys the link to it, and he talks about everything from like he puts cosmic disaster was one. The last one he had done is cosmic disaster again, magnetic anomaly, because he talks about these earthquakes and everything else. Here's the link right here. You guys can check him out. He's actually really, really good channel to watch. Rachel, yeah, good point. You put on there summers are hotter, winters are shorter. No way there could be from pollution. I mean, I think we're accelerating it. And again, I don't remember what this cycle is. You guys can look this up, lunar cycle, and I'm sorry, not lunar. I'm sorry, the sun cycle, the solar cycle, or the sun cycle, depending on how you want to look at it. And I don't know why I said lunar cycle because I'm actually looking at a comment that says about the moon. But again, every 11 years at the peak, it's actually hottest, meaning it's most active, and that's when all the planets warm. But again, if we get you talk about all of these like other countries, like India or Japan or whatever, or China, where they got so much growth of the population that literally is smog and everything everywhere. Well, this stuff gets in the upper atmosphere, and if it makes its way around to the poles, what it does, you get this black soot kind of thing, and it's kind of like it'll settle on the polar ice. Well, what does black do? It absorbs sun, right? So it accelerates the melting process. So we may have a hand in it. We're not the sole cause. No, I don't believe that. I believe we may be adding to it. I don't think we're the cause, no. Because it's, I know we have a lot of pollution, but we're definitely not putting it on other planets, that's for sure. At least not yet. Roscoe says, morning, afternoon, evening to all, and our host. The Thing was great movie. Sorry I'm late to class. Well, next time get a hallway pass, will you? I'll get an excuse. Good to have you in there, Roscoe. Yeah, it was definitely a good movie. I liked it. In fact, even the remake of that was actually pretty darn good. Usually, I don't know about you guys, but usually you see like these remakes of movies. Oh my God, some of them are horrible. They should just leave the original alone. Richard Mortimer, there was an article about a massive organism living in the mantle. It was described along the lines of a huge fungus-like object, which is entirely feasible. It wouldn't surprise me. Mike Hoover's in the house. Daniel Webster says, they say the sun has 5 billion years before it turned into a ridge giant. It's not big enough to ever be a supergiant, but when it becomes a giant, its atmosphere will reach nearly to Mars. Well, and that's the thing. It's going to grow slowly, but as it does, this is the reason why they're probably saying, listen, let's be on both planets. And I think we're actually going back to it. I think we're going back to the dual planet as we had, I think, hundreds of years ago. So they're saying, if something happens to the moon, or I'm sorry, the Earth, then at least we still live on. So either one, if we're on both planets, we're on a biplanet kind of thing, then we don't have to worry about it. Man will still survive one way or the other. Unless, of course, there's like, this huge, collection of these rocks flying through a solar system and just like nail both of the planets or all of the planets at once. I think we'd survive, Libby Terrell says, I heard we are entering the solar maximum now. It's the 11th year. See, that's what I'm saying. If you read up on it, the 11-year cycle, and we may, and like I said, I haven't looked it up there, Libby, so you may be correct on that. And it wouldn't surprise me. When you get to the peak, and then you'll see the actual action calm down with the sun, and then the planets will start going back to the norm. And so I don't know. Custom Tailored One, good to see you. And he said, Chris, you are correct about the sun cycles. Yeah, it's something you had to know when you were in the, like I said, radio, because different bands would open up in different parts of the year and different cycles and stuff like that. As it's going up, different bands would actually work better. And that's why, I was an avid listener of shortwave and everything else. And it was good to know this stuff because you know what different bands would be active, And of course, like I said, when you just, when you get and it was funny too, every time you got like a hurricane or some kind of storm coming off the ocean or northeaster or something like that, it would hit, and then as soon as it went off the going towards the UK, it literally opened up a window in the atmosphere, and you could talk to everybody in the UK like it was like we're talking now, like you're hearing me now, you know? Daniel Webster says, I've been studying astronomy for 35 years. The only way the sun could be going into a red giant already is if it's much older than we are being told. That's a possibility. Yeah, that'd be something to do too. Noodles, you said, yeah, yes, clean up the black stuff and let's check again. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, that's what they were saying before. I don't believe we're the sole problems of it. Like I said, we may be accelerating it, but we're not the sole problem with it. You know, and you guys were talking about fear mongering and stuff like that. I don't believe in that crap. You know, I've had people ask me, oh, you know, when we had 2012 and, oh my God, is that true? Please stop. You know, some of these channels make a living off this crap. And it's like, you know, stop that. You know, if you know, people like, oh, you know, there's a meteor coming, so everybody's going to die. Well, if it was big enough, it's going to hit the planet, and you might as well just kiss your ass goodbye anyway. I mean, you might have a little time. If it hit one side of the planet, you might have a little time to say, I love you to your loved ones, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, yeah. You know, but as far as like other stuff that's like they're all fair mongering, like, oh, this is going to happen. Stop. No reason for that crap. I had one woman, she was actually terrified. She's like, oh my God, is this real? I forget what the situation was, but they were talking about it. I'm saying, listen, don't listen to these channels. These people are just, that's how they're trying to make their money off this crap. And it's fair mongering. People are worried now. Stop. And it was funny because, like I said, it was the 2012. And, you know, do you think that's true? And I said, no, the Mayans will tell you it was a time for enlightening. Doesn't mean the planet's going to end. Stop. You know? Yeah, it's crazy the stuff that people put out. It's unreal. Hypnos, you put in if our contribution to the warming causes a tipping point that would not occur otherwise, then we are causing it. Then we are causing it. Well, yeah, Patron, you said that maybe the planets could be used as stepping stones for the human race. Well, and that's what they're trying to do. That you know, if they get on the moon, then they can make a moon base. Then it's easy to just to lift off from the moon than to lift off from space, right? Because it takes virtually nothing to get off the moon as opposed to here on Earth. So that's what they're trying to do. And then, you know, they can just fly to Mars. Just all you need is just, you know, enough thrust to get you started, get yourself on a trajectory right to Mars and then and just, you know, get to where you got to go and then land. Um, you know, compared to Earth, it takes so much fuel to burn just to get out into the atmosphere alone and then break away from the gravity and its atmosphere and everything else. And by then you've just used up how much, as opposed to lifting off from the moon would take almost virtually nothing, right? Well, compared to what we use to get off the Earth. George Me said, "Hi, Chris. I've been catching up with your videos. That's why I'm late. Coming here. Hi, everyone. What's going on, George? Good to have you in there, man." Noodles, you said to be clear, I am on the environmental team. One cycle daily. Um, Only use gas for work, emergencies, or torrential rain. Strangely, I have 8 cars and a Hayabusa. Now take the Hayabusa engine, right, and stick it in a smart car. I'm sure you've seen them videos. Funny as shit. Divine Caitlin said, no fear mongering. I agree. I mean, if there really was going to be something extremely bad going to happen to the planet, somebody's going to leak that out at some point. Unless, of course, it's something that creeps up on these scientists and they don't see it, like a rock from out in space. You know, I mean, it's happened where there's been close calls and nobody knew it was even there. So how do we know, right? Jason McVeigh said, "Hello, Chris. Got here a bit late. That's okay. Better late than ever, then, right?" Rachel, you said that's exactly what I think. The sun is much older than we are told, and I doubt we can measure the age of the sun. Why are scientists so interested in its activity? And I agree. I mean, they sent a probe over there, and they're trying to get real close to the sun. They're trying to check it out. Um, you know, if they have inside information, meaning they suspect something, let's say out of this world, otherworldly, do they think there's something going on in the sun other than they think? You know, who knows? Oh, maybe it's nothing. It's just simple scientific studies. That's it. You know what I mean? But for what reason? You and I will never see anything of any. Well, I mean, unless you get a solar flare, and of course, it's basically like an EMP, right? Um, just knock everything out on the planet and basically put us back to the dark ages. But don't worry about it; be all right. No fear mongering, by the way. But to me, that's the only thing that can happen at this point. Nobody that's on here right now will be around to see any kind of the sun swallow up this solar system or anything like that. So I don't think I'd worry about that. But you're right about that. How do we know what the age really is, and how do they gauge that? It's not like a tree where they can see the like growth rings, right? So yeah, how do they know? Chris, on the Mars video this week, look up the top left, and okay, you've seen that, and we've seen that right there. Whoop. I hate when this thing does this. Yeah, let me go way back down here now. Okay. Mike Hovey said Ronald Reagan saying they can't take 300 astronauts to space as of 1985. He knocked them out. Yep. Zone has broken. He said, if you can't control it, don't worry about it. I mean, like I said, if it happened, what would you do about it? If they said, oh, there's a rock coming in, all right, I'd want to know where and, how long it's going to be before I kiss my own butt goodbye. But yeah. Well, misheard. You said what truly is beginning to worry me is an asteroid impact, not a planet killer, but could knock us back into the Iron Age. Well, and I've said that. What would happen? Now, you guys seen this on the news and a million times. You might have been part of it at some point. Let's suppose for a moment that we had this large EMP, whether it was another country did to us or done by the sun. Because even back in, what was it, the 1800s, where they had the Morse code lines, it literally singed and burnt all of those lines. It was so hot, it was so intense that it literally burnt up anything that was electric. Now, suppose it right now, with the technology we have, like computers, your phones, your GPS, so on and so forth. Let's suppose we had an EMP that was like ungodly, right? And everything was completely shut down. Nothing was functional. Now they are taking precautions with that. They're literally, trying to insulate. Like the military's trying to do that, so that doesn't happen if we ever have a solar flare. That's going to be like huge, right? But let's suppose that happened, and it did. It knocked us back into the dark age. Can you imagine the social breakdown and the pure pandemonium that would happen? Think about that for a minute. If you picture the people back in, what was it, the snowstorm or whatever they had? Oh, no, it was the hurricane that they had, and it was in New Jersey. People literally beating the crap out of each other for water. Oh, my God. Can you imagine 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, 4 weeks go by? Nothing. No phones, no nothing. Just picture that. You can't go out and you can't shop. People stop raiding stores. It literally social breakdown as we know it. It would truly be like the worst parts of the Bible. I mean, it just, yeah. You can just imagine. Renee, you said Holy Bible Revelations rather said there's an end time, the rapture. Those who have golden seal on from God will save will be saved during the trials and tribulations. Those with 666 on their foreheads will go to hell. Phew, thank God I got those numbers off my forehead. Oh, I mean, what? Anyway, so yeah, it's just crazy, guys. Yeah, Roscoe, you said EMP is what I fear as a possibility. Our grids are in bad shape. Like I said, just picture that. Your cars would stop functioning, especially mine. I got one that's fully electric and I got one that's a hybrid. So I'm basically on horseback. But here's the thing. Can you just imagine that? Oh my God. It would literally be, like I said, pure pandemonium. When you get a storm, something like that, power goes out for a week. People are fussing, beating the crap out of each other in the store for water. Now picture that, like I said, again for a month, 2 months, 3 months, keeps going on and on. Oh my God. Get out the rifles. Johnny Vaughn. Don't tell me I'm going to get vaporized. No, I think you're safe. I think you're good. Libby Terrell, you said yeah, regarding Y2K, yes, it was hyped up, but uh, I was a mainframe program in those days, and there was only a two-digit field for the year. Well, that's what they said. That was the biggest problem that they were talking about, was that some of these things, the way they were clocked and everything else, that they wouldn't be able to, something about going to that year or in 2000. Somehow they figured from 1999, I don't know what the hell. But as far as everything else, everybody was like, some people were like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And, we're all doomed. And it's like, man, I've watched some of these channels and I'm going, how the hell do these people, you know, get away with that crap? Let's just put it that way. Mike Hoovy said, I say, fuck it. My cup is full. Let it spill. I will pass the, the three scales of truth or whatever. Well, that's the truth. I mean, I look at it this way. If you knew something was a pending doom, it's kind of like, what the heck was that? Oh, what was that movie with Bruce Willis when everything had that? Was it the Impact movie, whatever? If you knew it was coming and stuff like that, you could prep for it. Just go, oh well, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. So what's the point? You know? That's right. Earth, Moon, and Mars. You put on there. There's 40 gallons of water in your water heater. That's right. Well, the thing is, how long would that last? And see, that's what a lot of people. I know people that are literally ready for anything apocalyptic. I've got people that've got storage areas of food and generators and everything else, thinking that's the real deal. And I said, well, what happens if that never happens? And then they go, well, what happens if it does? You know what I mean? They got the food that they can. It's like stored for 25 years, so on and so forth. And as a buddy of mine, he's got every illegal rifle and handgun you could possibly think of. You name it, he's got it, and he actually buys the stuff. And I know darn well it's illegal, but I said, I'll tell you what, if there's ever an apocalyptic problem or something going on, guess whose house I'm going to first? He says, don't worry, I got a couple guns for you. Don't worry about nothing. John Devon, you said people would be at their worst if we were told we would be out of here. Even people who are good inside can change if it messes with their beliefs. Well, it's not even the beliefs. It's an automatic instinct to stay alive. So right off the bat, you're going to be like what you thought was your neighbor. It's like, well, I'm going into your house. I'm going to take whatever I want from it, and you're going to like it and kind of add it to it because people, yeah, they're well natured when everything's going smooth. But the second well, hell, I might not be able to get food. I've got a family. So the first thing you think of is like, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to take what I want. And of course, there'll be other people there, be duking it out and everything else, because it's all about food, right? Food and water. What happens when it all runs out? They're going to be going door to door. It's basically one of those little horror movies you always see. But I said, if that's that what if situation. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying, but what if? People don't think of that. They go, never happened. I don't know if I'd ever say never. Armageddon, yes, Noodles. Yep. And Deep Impact. Yep. Pretty much the same things. It had the same kind of basic scenarios. All right, Bush Corey, good seeing you. Glad to have you, and you have yourself a good night there, right? Roscoe, you said, "Yep, good point. Built a few for radios, etc." At Mister Wayne. Phil Cox. I'd film it and post it on my channel. Yeah, no doubt. It's like, just wanted to tell you that. Good seeing you guys. It's like, oh, hell. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Wayne. Yep. If anybody's concerned about the EMP research, Faraday gauge. Oh, absolutely. As long as you can build one big enough for your house, I guess. But even then, what about the rest of the population, right? But yeah, I mean, good point. Mike Hoover, they don't give a rat's ass about us. They can tell, they can even tell us a half truth. We just got to keep our eye on them, I guess. They all start going underground. Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, because you really don't know, right? But if you start seeing these things, like, wait a minute, where's the president going? Where's all these people going, right? Is the flux capacitor still fluxing? Well, we better hope so if that ever happens. Valerie Hack Barth, he said, love the preppers, but would you really want to see the aftermath and live in it? And it would be sad. Well, that's the thing. I mean, because like I said, you always hear about these people have these underground shelters and stuff like that. And I mean, they could be under there for months on end, but I'm not so sure they'd still be safe because all the people, all the stragglers that kill off other families or just braid their house, at some point they'll still be alive, right? And then they'll start to like, okay, there's no more food. You come out, you're in a world of hurt. So you may want to stay in there. You better hope you have food for about a year. Everybody else is dead. But like you said, how would you feel once you came out and see the aftermath? That would be insane, right? Jamie Haddock, yeah, Mars is going to be our next home. Well, yeah, I mean, I always said that too. I mean, what if this is going to be like the prison planet and Mars is going to be the new utopia kind of thing? Um, because the way we're treating this planet now, God only knows what it'll look like in 100 years, right? Unless, of course, we go like totally crazy and say, listen, enough is enough. I know that I've been reading things where they've started cleaning up all the plastic in some of these oceans. And, of course, they got to recycle them and everything else. I mean, how much do we have it? Recycle it. Stop throwing it in the ocean. So, but just little things like that can ruin the planet. And we're not talking about like a couple garbage bags full. We're talking tons upon hundreds of thousands of tons of this stuff. So they're starting to wake up to the fact that you really need to get on top of this crap. Mike Hoover, you said it's only going to hit one side of the globe. Hopefully, you're on the other side, you might make it. Well, I can't imagine anybody would be alive because once it hits, let's say it slams. I'm talking about something like the size of Texas, and it slams the Earth on the other side of you, meaning you're on total opposite side. You can imagine a ripple effect in the core or the mantle of Earth. It'd just be total earthquakes and everything else. It'd just be a total wreck. And once you get cloud cover, you go into a nuclear winter. You basically, yeah, kiss your ass goodbye. Unless you got an underground dwelling, you can stand in there for years and if nothing caves in on you, and you're good and ready to go, then you might be all right. But we'll see what happens. I don't think that'll ever be the case, but never say never. There's a reason why they're trying to get to other planets. Again, we're trying to preserve us, so they know that there's a threat from outer space is real. Now, Is it coming tomorrow? I wouldn't sweat it, but like I said, I've seen some of them channels promoting that crap. Too. Oh my God, Planet X is going to slam us next year. Oh, shut up, stop. Richard Mortimer, you said when we had Fukushima here, it didn't take long for food and water to shelves to vanish. Comms were out for a long time. The traffic ground to a crawl as all the signals were out. Exactly. Now, like I said, if everything was to just totally shut down right now, by the way, I have battery backup for at least a half hour. No, I'm kidding. Well, I do actually, but that's beside the point. But if it was a giant EMP and everything just went, I mean, I'm talking phones were dead, landlines were dead, cars were dead, nothing moved. Just envision that, and it's kind of a scary thought. X15, you said the 1% super rich is planning on going off world, Chris. Just ask Elon, he knows. Well, I mean, and he wants to do the same, and he says he wants to die there. So I'm not surprised. But it would be the shit though if they finally had a civilization there, and of course Mars was the first place to get hit. That would be bad. Torres Brogan said, "Build a plastic planet. With enough plastic we got, we could probably do that." Yeah, Miss Hurd, I'm not a big fan of. I think Planet X is the real deal. Even NASA's saying that there is another planet. Of course, they're calling it the ninth planet, not Pluto now, right? But they say it's like 3 times the mass of Earth. So you go, okay, that's fine. But they say it is out there. There's another planet. Um, First, it used to be the 10th planet because we used to consider Pluto a planet. Excuse me. And so I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with the other planet being out there. But it's funny how the Sumerian they already had that like planets laid out and etched in stone, literally, and now they just happen to find this other planet. Now, is it what they're talking about? Not so sure, but the way they say it, it's like almost every 2 3 years there's another fear. Oh, Planet X is going to slam us. Oh, stop, man. Believe it or not, there's people out in observatories that would see this thing long before it got here. So, I'm sure we'd hear about it if that was the case, and I'm not worried about it. Hypnos, I don't know. Why do people throw out all of this unresearched bullshit? Well, it's true though. I mean, people do that. And you're listening to this and going, where are these people getting their facts from? I mean, there was one video I seen that they literally said, "Oh my God, it's just passing Jupiter." What? There's people out there that have their own backyard telescopes, and there's people that are in observatories that would see that with ease. Stop. Believe me, you'd hear it from some kind of astronomer, professional astronomer, before you'd hear, about some guy making a YouTube video going, "Oh, we're going to die." Stop. Good point, John. You put, how about living in an underground shelter and the global warming raises the sea level, and then where would you be? Where would they be? Well, it depends. If you're like in the middle of the country, you probably wouldn't have to worry about it. Everything on the coast would probably be underwater. So yeah, you better get yourself a submarine instead of a underground bunker, right? Oops. Oh, they said 5 times. I thought it was three. Richard, you put on there 5 times the mass, according to the astrophysicist who put forth the theory, or a fist-sized black hole which has less support. Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, they're actually saying our solar system is much bigger anyway. There's many more planets, but they just not every scientist is on board with that yet. So I mean, if you really think about it, I guess the way they'd have to actually say, well, what constitutes a planet in our solar system, meaning how far the reach. So they're trying to see what the orbits are to see if in fact they are still following like our planets are doing, and they consider that obviously in our solar system, but there's some scientists out there that are saying there's many more planets in our solar system. It's not just, just at the time 9, now 8. Dawn has broken. Who wants to live after that anyway? Alone and struggling, forget it. Well, I mean, there's, once you, let's say there was that EMP and everybody just went crazy and everything else. And then, after, if you had a big enough bunker where you could live for like 6 months to a year and you had it, everything underground, everything passed, no chance of you getting killed off by somebody else. And maybe the electricity, everything's come back on by then, or at least some communities had it, then you're okay. If not, then you probably should keep a bullet for yourself. That's, I mean, you can see movies where people actually do that. So, oh, I got this all set. Because I don't know what would be more scary, the actual seeing people go crazy or then the people starting to come after you, knowing that, well, wait a minute, you may still have food and stuff. Jamie Hancock Haddock. The kids would go nuts without internet. A lot of grown-ups would go nuts without internet. Oh, that's what you guys are talking about. Okay, Geezer Butler. Okay, Black Sabbath and everything. Yep. Yes, or you are food. Yep. We might be the food. Valerie, you said pisses me off. I've looked at these photos for years, always thought they were rocks, never realized the manipulation that was going on. Well, again, I was told a long time ago through an email that they said they have a rock mimicking software. So they can pretty much transform whatever's on that surface, click, 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 and they can actually make it look like a rock. And they do a really good job of it. And I confirmed that one day, and you can still see this yourself. If you look it over good enough, you see like a rock, supposed rock, and you see like something white or brighter colored than the rock, and it'd be like an actual frame type thing, like something a 90-degree angle sticking out of the corner of it. You go, wait a minute. Since when does a rock do that? And is it naturally encrusted, meaning because the thing's been there for X amount of years, or has it been hidden purposely? That's the key. That's the question. And I've seen this more than once. In fact, I just seen it in this other gigapan I just looked at, and with this an anomaly that I'm going to show you guys in this video coming up tomorrow. That how in the hell? It just some of the things you see in there is just absolutely crazy. Yeah, those are the days, Renee. Awesome. I seen Sabbath, Dio, and Ozzy tons of times. Yeah, it's a shame with Ronnie, huh? That sucks. Guy was awesome. Dawn has broken. You said, "Have you seen the living moon pictures of the Sphinx on the moon?" Um, I'm not so sure I have, but I heard somebody mention it. I didn't see any photos though, so I don't know what that's about. Right? Misheard. You said I bashed that thumbs up button. I hope I didn't break it. Dio is awesome. Yeah, don't break the button, guys. We want to keep using it. Remember. But yeah, hit that thumbs up button, guys. Appreciate it. I am going to get on it out of here. I only wanted to go up to around maybe 2 hours because, like I said, I want to edit this video for you guys and get it out. Make sure it's out for tomorrow. So yeah. So I'm going to let everybody go. I do appreciate everybody being here. Another awesome hangout. You guys are the bomb. And we're definitely going to be knocking more of these out. And like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the other Lunar Anomalies and Beyond, channel, please do. And if you need a link, just let me know. I'll go ahead and drop it. In fact, I don't know if I still have it on here when I did it last time. That should be it, but I could be wrong. Let me see. Whoops. Hate it when that happens. Nope, that was suspicious minds. Okay. That's what I needed to find out. Alrighty then. But anyway, if you look it up, in fact, I got the link in the last 2 videos I have of my new channel. You guys can check that out. And I'll give you the link one last time before we jump on off this thing. It's getting up there, guys. We got 872 subscribers. You guys are awesome. Like I said, we got to hit 1,000 mark. This way we can, like I said, we'll be recognized as a channel. At least that particular channel. Here is the link. You guys can check that out. That should be good now. Keyword is should. Let me see if I can. All right. Yeah, we are. We're going to be changing the banner up a little bit. Different intro. We haven't done it yet, but we will. I got a friend helping me out with that as well. So we're going to try to change it. For now, it'll be the Mars and Anomalies and Beyond intro. But we're going to be changing it up for that other channel. So you guys can check that out. All right. Here we go. All right, guys. Like I said, thanks for being here. Always appreciate you guys know that, man. You guys are the bomb, and anybody who supported the channel, what you guys always do. But when you give extra support, I appreciate you all. You guys know that. And like I said, you guys are awesome. Just what I love about this community, because everybody's just awesome and gets along. Just everybody throws ideas around, different suggestions, questions. You guys are the bomb. Like I said, you guys are awesome. Anyway, guys, let me jump off this. Look for the new video tomorrow. And like I said, it'll probably be around 1, 2-ish, somewhere around there that it should be out there. So just look for it tomorrow. And like I said, if you haven't already subscribed to the new channel, please do so. And then this way, because once we get in there, once we get up to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to start putting more and more moon stuff on there. We may still be putting some on Mars anomalies. So we need, in other words, we need to build that channel up. And this way it will be fine. And once it builds up, everything from moon will be over there. So some people will be going, the hell's a moon videos? He was doing all kinds of oh crap! I forgot about it. He's got that new channel. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Sounds like the video now. Thanks for being here. You guys, like I said, are the bomb. So good having you guys in there as always. I didn't have a chance to show you guys some of the space news, which let me see if I can find this other page real quick. It's interesting what this guy says. I'll drop this on you before I leave. Now, talking about the Viking lander, the Viking landers, what they were trying to do is they were testing the soil. So this guy argues, and he's a former NASA scientist, says they found life on Mars in the 1970s. We talked about this last week. Now, the funny thing about it, the experiment, the experiment called labeled release, or LR, was designed to test Martian soil for organic matter. It seemed we had answered the ultimate question. Levin wrote in the article. Now, Gilbert Levin was principal investigator on the NASA experiment that sent Viking landers to Mars in 1976. In the experiment, let me see, I'm going to make this page just a little bit bigger here. It's a little too small for me as far as because it's over there anyway. Makes it even more difficult to read. In the experiment, the Viking probes placed nutrients in Mars soil samples. If life was present, it would consume the food and leave gaseous traces of its metabolism, which radioactive monitors would then detect. To make sure it was biological reaction, the test was repeated after cooking the soil, which would prove lethal to the known life. If there was a measurable reaction in the first and not the second sample, that would suggest biological forces at work. And that's exactly what happened, according to Levin. So yes, they confirmed life on the planet, microbial, whatever it might have been, back in the day. So, and yet they're still saying, we're still trying to find any life. They already know it, man. Come on. So anyway, like I said, my predictions are they're going to start to show, maybe more. They're going to start showing like small organics, little tiny bushes between rocks or whatever. You watch and see. They've already claimed there's water underground as well as on the surface. Now we're going to start to see little organic life and stuff like that. You watch. It's coming. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for being here. You guys, it's always appreciated, like I said. And we'll see you guys soon on the next video. And, of course, next weekend. Anyway, guys, have yourself a good one and have yourself a good week coming up. Take care.